abstract. Yeah, it's complicated. What you say, the way you act. Well, it makes me so confused. I don't know what to do anymore. Can't you just make up your mind? My heart drops when you play around. How can you be up when I'm down? Don't wanna think about it right now. Maybe you just wanna be friends, but there's a fight when we are talking. Maybe you just wanna pretend, but I can read between the lines. Even if I can't deny that all the things you said are hurting, still wanna be with you. I think you want it too. 'Cause baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be. No, baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be. How it hurts to see you smile, like a dagger in me. She just seems so juvenile. I just want it to be me. I wanna set your world on fire. Oh, you're so sure I'll stick around. Oh, my heart drops when you play around. How can you be up when I'm down? Don't wanna think about it right now. Maybe you just wanna be friends, but there's a fight when we are talking. Maybe you just wanna pretend, but I can read between the lines. Even if I can't deny that all the things you said are hurting, still wanna be with you. I think you want it too. 'Cause baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be. Oh, even if I can't deny that all the things you said are hurting, still wanna be with you. I think you want it too. 'Cause baby, I don't wanna be. No, baby, I don't wanna be. No, baby, I don't wanna be. Baby, I don't wanna be.
I see something, it's coming up on the horizon. Oh, let me clear my head and get rid of the distractions. Oh, I was done, I was down when I saw you in the clouds. Out of days, filled with doubt. I was drifting in and out, levitate, fade away. I had left full time and space, but you just caught my eye. Hey, nah, 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 nah. Please, won't you come over? Let me get to know ya. Hey, nah, 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 nah. Delve into emotion, leave us in this moment. Yeah. Let your mind be free. Stop holding back, 'cause you can fight it. Oh, I don't know your name, but something in me has ignited. Oh, I was done, I was down when I saw you in the clouds. Out of phase, filled with doubt. I was drifting in and out, levitate, fade away. I had left full time and space, but you just caught my eye. Hey, nah, 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 nah. Please, won't you come over? Let me get to know ya. Hey, nah, 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 nah. Delve into emotion, leave us in this moment. like I'm crazy. When I shut my feelings out, you look at me like I'm different. Still you stay cause you feel something real. Get so lost in my moments. Doesn't mean I don't need you. I fell in love with your colors. They kinda tell me what I'm thinking. Fell in love with the way we are and the way we lose it. There's something different about us, and the reason why we stay. We fly around like paper planes. They never know where we will fall. Nobody can see us, still they wanna tear us apart. There's something different about the way we are. There's something different about us. 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 We're pouring cup after cup after cup. Yeah, it's just the way we do it. Anything just to block out the real life, real life. Yeah, we're loving the way they think we're so messed up. Even if what we're doing is bad, there's so many emotions. Sharing stories that we never had, yeah, none is real. I think we're searching for reasons not to be like them. We fly around like paper planes. They never know where we will fall. Nobody can see us,
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Rift Masters. We're bringing you day 2 here of our second open qualifier. Well, we will hopefully finish up a lot of the action that started yesterday. But surprise, it looks like we've got a separate person on desk. I'm happily joined here by my lovely friend Moose as we'll work through this series today.
Who, me?
Yeah,
I'm your friend? What? No way. Don't be ridiculous, Zephyr. It is, regardless of that, is going to be a phenomenal day. You know, day 2 of the qualifiers, the last time that I was here, I was able to do day 1, which was really fun to be able to see all the different teams that are competing here in this tournament and really in this split, because a lot of the same teams that we saw in week 1 are here for week 2. But now I get to see the day 2 of a qualifier, get to cast the semifinals, the grand finals, and that third place finish. It's going to be super fun to get those high quality teams out onto the Rift and to show us what they're made of.
Absolutely here. And we'll be starting off with Immortals and Notice Legends here shortly. But before we do that, let's take a look at how these teams managed to make their way over here. We first off, of course, had our single elimination just yesterday where most teams played through best of ones until we hit our quarterfinals where, let me tell you what, Moose, they were explosive.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been taking a look at the bracket. Really I would say a little bit of some surprises there. Again,
yes,
I'm really kind of feeling the strangeness that's coming with Enemy right now. I was very surprised to see that Chong Turtle was able to take that win once again. But regardless, other than that, I mean, we've got Immortals once again. Notice Legends finally making their way into the semifinals matchup. They were unfortunately up against Immortals week 1, and that was a 2-0 sweep against them. So, you know, now they're going to be able to get to the semifinals matchup, and at least they'll go and walk away with a little bit more money today because they made it into the semifinals. Now, just to keep in mind, this is a total of a $30,000 prize pool split across the 4 weeks of qualifiers and the playoffs. So all these teams, the 3rd and the 4th place finishers are going to get $800 and $500. The 2nd place gets $1,100, and the 1st place finisher a whopping $1,600, the lion's share of the prize pool today. And on top of that, those coveted points that are absolutely necessary for these players to be able to get into the playoffs where the big money can be made.
Right, I was about to say, we didn't even touch on it, but that's where the moolah is to be had here. And so every single qualifiers counts, not just today alone, but last week as well. And we already have some of those standings worked out, and hopefully we'll get to take a look at those later once everything works out on its way, though. But like you said, there's plenty of teams here that are playing this one out. Of course, we've discussed Notice Legends versus Immortals, but yes, Chonk Turtle, off of their victory against Enemy, is going to be going up against Cloud9 here. And let me tell you, this looks very similar to what we saw out of qualifiers number 1.
Pretty much. I mean, the only difference I would say is Notice Legends actually making it into semifinals. I mean, obviously last week it was a little bit of a different story. They fell short against Immortals in the quarterfinals, but now, you know, with the bracket kind of mixed up a little bit, it does mean that they do at least get to the semifinals best of 3 series. We'll see if they are able to perform a little bit better, but to be honest with you, last week, the Immortals Notice Legends matchup, I mean, it was a stomp, like completely Immortals victory there.
Okay, you know what, if you want to put it hard there, I'll maybe dish out some soft mannerisms toward the Notice Legends squad. Yes, it was a struggle coming out of the first qualifiers, but hey, the best part about this is that they've hopefully learned plenty of lessons to be taken, especially regarding some of that early game and controlling what will be that bot lane of Gume and Charm here from the Immortals roster. But past all that, we are already into draft, and one thing to slip through is, of course, that Varus. Very coveted pick that was not banned out here among the first 6 and now into the hands of Gume.
That's actually really good. I think, you know, Immortals, obviously, you were talking about that. We were like discussing our notes for today's games. You know, the bottom lane of Immortals is just so powerful. It's one of the the only teams here in the semifinals bracket that really likes to make sure that their bottom lane is, you know, the focus of their wins, a focus of their early game, focus of their draft, whatever it may be. But, you know, one thing that I do want to keep in mind here that was different from week 1 to week 2 is the fact that we do have 2 extra bans. It's similar to League of Legends tournament draft style. You get those extra 2 bans, total of 5 bans totally. And that does make a difference because now, you know, if you're Immortals, maybe you do want to focus on making sure that you get your bottom lane figured out first.
Absolutely. Well, at least they get something strong down there. On the other hand, Notice Legends, they're quick-witted with their own response. They give early rotation here over to the hands of, my apologies here, 9 in that mid lane, of course, on this Twisted Fate. But they also route through with the Galio into support, which has shown to be very, very strong there. You're not going to have as direct of a support for your AD carry here, but plenty of the engage that should hopefully help them take it to it in the bot lane.
Yeah, oh, very good. And then on top of that, you pair it with the Orianna. You don't necessarily have a ball delivery system quite yet, but if you do land a really nice tidal wave, you get everyone knocked up.
Yeah.
You then can really pile on the CC with the Chains of Corruption, and then with the Shockwave as well. So definitely something that Notice Legends will have to take care of moving into it. They do have a little bit of protection. The Galio does have the Hero's Entrance with that extra magic resistance shield, and with Destiny getting used by the Twisted Fate, he's going to be able to potentially position himself in a way where he doesn't get hit by those big tidal waves and those big ultimates. So far, I'm happy with what Notice Legends has been built up, but it's going to be noticing and very important to see how the bans are going to play out. Ashe. Oh man, Ashe has been such a pickup in this split so far. Everyone that's played him has done some really, really good work with those Enchanted Crystal Arrows, and that's going to really stop any sort of forward momentum that Immortals maybe try to build as we move into the second part of the draft.
Right, and I am curious how that might convert to some kind of advantage towards that bot lane. I talked to Notice Legends here recently, and their main takeaway, we talk about it a lot, but yes, they have to shut down Gume and Charm. A lot of teams may let them go away on their side lanes, and that in its own right is a ticking time bomb here. You don't have the leniency to just let Gume and Charm roam free here, because Immortals are happy. They'll just turtle up. They'll play around that dragon lane all they want and then come to mid to late. There is no way you play into it. Either way, jungle, top lane, these are the two big ones that have not been picked out here. And you got to fear it. Yikes and both. My apologies here. Raki Zoro, of course, from Immortals can be absolute gods in both of their respective roles. Yikes, of course, setting things up. But Raki Zoro playing a really strong weak side here against teams that have been pretty heavily favored towards trying to work something out up there.
Well, I mean, in terms of Notice Legends, they are trying to be able to deny the dashes, the engaging tools, and the more knockup that you can get. The Wukong, I think, obviously a really strong champion to take away because you deny the ball delivery system a little bit there. I mean, Nimbus Strike is just so good to be able to get into somebody's backline and to just obliterate them before they're able to do anything with it. However, Notice Legends, they're really focusing the top lane. The Malphite makes sense. Unstoppable Force can just devastate the same thing, devastate a backline because of that really, really strong ultimate, that strong knockup, and then at that point, the Galio is able to come through and continue to find ways, but Notice Legends are continuing to try to find ways to maneuver around this engage or this, potential chain CC that Immortals is going for. They pick up the Lee Sin, which is awesome, and then the Gragas. I think that that's a stable pickup. You're talking about how important the weak side can be, and, Gragas known to be really strong regardless of where he's at, and it looks like he will be in the top lane today.
Yes, that is a Raki Zoro classic up there, his most played champion up on the top side here for the Immortals roster. And like he said himself, it's a strong weak side. Not many other teams are very comfortable when they play into it, so he takes advantage of that and is able to capitalize most of these lanes here. The Garen, though, is a response that was not particularly banned out. Notice Legends themselves have said they like to pull this one out as a tool to kind of capitalize up there in the top. Now, I don't know how easy access it will really be for this Garen to run down that top side at any point. Raki Zoro is plenty and well ahead of paying very good respect up there and controlling these lanes. So I'll say it, it's going to be a tough one.
I want to really touch on that a little bit more is, Immortals, that's 4 top lane bans. Camille, Darius, Malphite, and Renekton. On top of that, the Wukong banned out from Notice Legends. I mean, the pool was really, really, I would say, stripped of all the high priority top lanes. You could have gone, if you wanted to be really fun, maybe you pick up the Fiora there. I mean, that'd be the only other real option that I think was not, banned out or picked. But the Garen, you need a little bit more frontline, and you don't get much more frontline than Garen. However, doesn't necessarily have that big engage tool that the Gragas is going to have. I'm interested to see how Immortals lineup is going to be playing out if we do get into a team fight scenario. Explosive cast is going to have to be on point because you don't want to separate everyone away from the shockwave, and then at that point it's sad. You have to walk away and things aren't good. But Immortals, they know what they're doing. I feel like, this is another big test for them in terms of making sure that their coordination is good. But Notice Legends, I mean, it looks really, really scary if they can get going. They could be at any lane at any moment.
Yeah, Notice and Legends could be side lane split all they want there. You throw the Gallia or the Twisted Fate around the map, and response is available constantly, whether it be that Heroic Entrance or that Destiny. I have some questions regarding their sustained damage here, especially when we get to those team fights. I don't think Ashe and Garen and Twisted Fate are some of the most explosive champions to follow up on the heavy engage that they have wrought for themselves here. But if they find early leads and are able to be as proactive as they themselves have promised to me here, it definitely can come through. You just don't want it to get to the point where you have such an advantage scaling towards the Immortals, because I'll tell you right now, as this comp goes on later and later and later, Orion and Varus get just an absolute monumental problem there here on the Rift.
And on top of that, like, you already get a little bit of a boost with the Nami. It's so strong in the early game, being able to get those slows with the extra auto attacks that Nami's able to provide for the Varus, and then piercing arrows if they land. I mean, that's going to chunk the Galio. I don't care if, how stone-like you are, you're still going to get chunked if you get hit by them. So I'm very curious to see, how Notice Legends wants to play the early game out. Do they decide to bring the Lee Sin down to the bottom lane and try to maybe contest this Nami Varus, or maybe do they go to the mid lane, maybe even go to the top lane? I'm not quite sure. What's your take on that, Zephyr?
Right, Notice Legends themselves have told me that they don't have a particular team that they themselves, or a player, my apologies, that they like to really base themselves around. Their whole objective is to counter the strengths of the teams that they take it up against here. So my assumption is that we should see presence towards this bot side here, which would be surprising. Most teams don't tend to really try to capitalize on the Gume and Charm lane, especially as dangerous as this one is spelling out to be here. But Noah said that's really the only way you're going to win here. And I will note that we did see Immortals lose yesterday here up against Sentinels, but the reason that they did lose really started out in that draft. They didn't have a sustained kind of engage tool, which in my opinion, that does not seem to be a problem this time around.
Nope.
Cut the Gragas out of it. That's a great in its own right. Put the Xin Shao. That alone should get you what you need here, whether it be, like you said, kind of that ball delivery system, or for the single target pickup when it comes down to it. So draft's already done it over in that regard. You have to look towards this boss because that's your only chance.
And we'll see how Notice Legends does play that one out, and what, options, what avenues they go for it. And will they be able to take a game one win off of Immortals? It should be pretty fun to see. I'm really excited to see how this Notice Legends squad is going to be able to make this happen. Take a look at the rosters right now. Talked about Immortals, talked about how strong as a squad they have been. They are the defending champions from Qualifier 1, but that does not mean that they are guaranteed a win here this week. This is our first semifinals matchup, Notice Legends versus Immortals, and we've got ourselves a really fun matchup ahead for us, Zephyr. Let's get things started.
Absolutely here, and already right off the bat, you've got almost 5-man contests from both sides here. Of course, those junglers still taking it in their own start, but this is something we consistently see from Immortals, but this time around Notice Legends as well. They try to take advantage in that mid lane so you can push forward, get the extra information on your belt here. Now, Notice Legends, they don't do that. Instead, it's a rotation from Hoon to secure that, and even though both Burger King and Tony, or my apologies, DX31, are able to spot this one out, they don't really exude the pressure they particularly want. But no, maybe I'm wrong there. They do find that last ward up towards that top side.
And that's what you need. Now at this point that Immortals has gone for a bottom side clear. So that does give potentially Tony the opportunity to go for an early gank either into this mid lane or into the bottom lane. Should be fine, but first blood.
Ooh.
It's going to be DX31 taking down Hoon. Nicely done.
I was about to say there, I was curious if the poke that was sustained there from the stereotypical rotation we see out of Hoon was going to be punished, and yes, it was. DX31 and Tony were able to pull that one off. In response, though, it's a quick hit onto Yikes, who tries to sustain, keep this lane in place here. So now put a little bit more on that book remember, when he starts rotating up towards this top side, if he dares take what is that blue buff, he will be quickly spotted out, and Notice Legends should still have a handle.
I like that from Tony, though. He understood that he was going to be in trouble, and is still in trouble. Has to flash away from Charm of all champions, and that means that Gume is going to be able to take that Scuttle Crab. A little bit of sad news bears for Notice Legends.
A bit of a touchy question there, kind of trying to go for that Gromp right after taking as low as you were, especially without the Smite being available to heal you to some degree of sustainability here, which I personally think was kind of a waste of the flash. And now that it's down here, you definitely stunt a lot of the early pacing we should be seeing out of Tony here, which I hope that does not come back to bite potentially on his next visit to one of these lanes.
Yep, but for now, looking like bottom lane, Joey, Zenith God, they're happy with just leaving it out. Actually, Joey not going to be able to finish that back. It's a little bit, again, the power of Charm and Gume in the bottom lane really showing themselves. Look at the vision that Immortals has already been able to rot so far in the early game. Just so much control, not only of the river, but he also knows that Gromp hasn't been taken yet as well. So, feeling pretty good now if you're Immortals, able to get Tony off his foot. A little bit of a slip up here, but it's not necessarily the worst situation just yet. We'll see how they're able to continue to keep that going, though, as we see, unfortunately, for Notice Legends, Yikes taking a couple of camps here in the top lane, the top side.
Well, at least on the other end of the side there, you've got Tony also kind of horizontally matching this one, taking it for the red. But the response on the buff, that's kind of the worst part about this. Yikes taking that one away will continue to slow out Tony here, which I really think was the major hinge for this win condition there. And I was hoping we might have seen a gank down that bot side, but with how much control and priority that Gume have been putting into this lane, taking advantage of that wave state, there's no real opportunity to find your way down there. So kind of antithesis to what I was expecting here out of Notice Legends, but I'll be honest, it's not easy. Immortals know their win condition and they have so much practice playing for it. But this is a rotation from that mid lane there, going to expend that Destiny. They only blow the flash off a Charm.
Yeah, I mean, good play there coming in from Charm, able to use the bubble to be able to survive himself, and once again being able to make sure that Gume is able to survive. There are 4 members of Notice Legends now in the bottom side of the Rift. They could potentially go for this Mountain Drake if they find something that can work for them. However, gotta be careful about that. Zenith God going to be able to get the knock up onto Charm, and it is going to be another kill. Ooh! Gume with the piercing arrow once again.
Finds a nice response, support for support, and Immortals immediately sensing out that 4-man rotation, quickly pull themselves here for the handshake on Rift the Dragon. Either way, we look at both those kills, and most of them have sustained to kind of build up this lead here now on DX31. They're early, and now the rotation to follow here, but the gold in response continues to pull down towards Gume, which was the #1 thing we didn't want.
Yeah, if you're Notice Legends, you don't want that at all. But, still the richest man on the Rift is going to be DX31, those 2 kills, and picking up that Zeal, so going to have a nice extra little bit of attack speed. Early second item on the way here for him. So with that being said, I'm really expecting DX31 to really take control of these side lanes and really make sure that he can't be that potential, deterrent for a Charm and Gume to be able to push forward to that top or that bottom lane tower. Hoon, though, did have that first blood against him. Has stayed consistent, though. His gold only a little bit behind what DX31 currently has.
All right, and we talk about this top side here, too, as well. We were expecting maybe a little bit more presence of Jurgen, but hold the thought. DX back in this bot lane. I like to see this one try to pair off rotation from Tony to find some access here once again. But remember, that lane is not anywhere close to being in the best of states. And now, Immortals, they turn this one around immediately, throw down the Rift in the mid, and yeah, they'll be able to take this turret.
Yeah, at least a lot of damage onto it as we get the headbutt. You're absolutely right. First turret does go down to Notice Legends. Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Gonna land onto Charm. Just kind of throwing it out there, seeing if you find anything, but not this time. No real dice. Just gonna disengage. First tower over to Immortals. Yikes. Should be fine as well. So now, if you're a Notice Legends, your mid lane tower is gone. Is this when you start to maybe rotate up to the mid lane, Joey and Zenith God? Maybe get DX31 down there, or do you keep him in the mid lane trying to get that money even more?
At this point here, you need to accelerate these side lanes in any way or fashion here, because they do source out the majority of your damage that will hopefully enable the Notice Legends comp in the mid game here. But you yourself said it just a moment ago, even in the face of some of these kills that have been picked up, the majority of Immortals have been keeping themselves quite healthy in the gold, in control of these items here, which is important. Remember, we talk about how Immortals, they're willing to turtle up at any given point, and we saw last week in their finals against Chonk Chortle how they themselves don't have to even take a huge amount of kills to win a game. They just slowly put the chokehold down and then find victory.
DX31, he goes into the bottom lane and then gets hit by the tidal wave of charm. So that is a shutdown on to him. Gonna lose a little bit of that momentum. However, Hoon is gonna get caught out. He's gonna flash away. The shockwave is going to land, and it is gonna be DX31 and Zenith God both dead. Burger King is now on the way as well. Gonna get knocked up and will fall. Immortals is just toppling Notice Legends like dominoes right now. And while Destiny will get used to see where everyone is at, not going to be picking up any kills, and that is big for this Immortal squad.
Right, and now they stack a little bit more back towards this mid lane to kind of bolster the presence here of this Orianna. You can already see how it's beginning to truly shine. We talk about ball carrier system. Well, you got the perfect example of it right there in that last fight now. And Hoon, while not as dedicated of a star for this squad, has definitely been the enabler for most team fights when it comes to how Immortals like to play this one out. Not a direct engage per se, but one to follow up that secures not just only that kind of magic damage here for the squad, but also their presence.
Now, both the neutral objectives spawning in the next 20 seconds. It is a Cloud Drake, but the Rift Herald, the big target that Immortals is looking to be able to go for, spawning in 4 seconds. They're going to use that momentum that they had to continue to keep the pressure going, and they will once again handshake here. So 2 dragons going to go over to Notice Legends.
Well, no.
But,
rotations are coming out quite fast there. Immortals, they know they don't want to give this one up. It would be far too free. I like the response there from Joey. Throws a chance crystal arrow, going to put Hoon in his place here, but the engage has already come through. Double knockup off of the tidal wave, and they don't secure the Drake. Cast to file. DX now stopped in his tracks for another kill. Guaranteed here. A double found onto Iraqi Zoro. Continue their chase. Joey to run away. Get a little bit of the slow back there, but not enough to prevent you from being hit by that piercing arrow.
Oh man, Zephyr, this is a little bit like deja vu. This happened in game number 1 of last week's game between Notice Legends and Immortals. They go for the Rift Herald. They sense out that the dragon is getting taken, so they rotate everyone else down, and they're able to take it away, getting both neutral objectives pretty much at the same time. They drop the Rift Herald. Shelly will get that mid tier 2 tower down to almost dead. And now they're up by 8,000 gold, a little bit more than that now, and they're just continuing to keep that pressure and the tidal wave of gold going their way.
Right, and once you see Immortals get to the state where they know they can contest these 5v5s, this is what you get. They have a complete chokehold here over the map as a whole, including this rotation, which was excellently portrayed onto this dragon. You see Charm start that one up from afar, which is the guaranteed right of that Nami, and why it's been seen on Charm for such a long while here now, giving that access to the fight to begin. And then once that was done, it was all but over. Look, there's another response. Get to see Charm once again.
Oh, Tony will fall. Heroic entrance doesn't even matter. Woo. Joey is just getting chunked out, and that's going to be Yikes finishing the kill. My goodness, the damage is already there. The gold almost up to 10,000 at this point. And we're going to see them be able to take that mid-tier 2 tower now. But I want to talk about Charm, Zephyr. I think, we've... At least for me, when I've casted my Wild Rift games, I've seen Charm on a couple of different teams. He found his way to Immortals I believe, 2 months ago or so. And, he's really been one of those really strong support champions, or support players, that's able to play those playmaking champions like the Nami, like the Janna, like the Galio even, and really show how important that role is here in Wild Rift. And you're seeing it right now that these tidal waves have just been, chef's kiss, Michelin star.
They've definitely been very, very good. And the craziest part about all of it is I think Charm's even younger than I am here. So beating out some of the older Vanguards who come out here. For now, though, looking like a solid engage. Shockwave expended from who? The auto to follow. They expend the barrier there out of Burger King. Coney's in deep with that Sonic Wave, but Charm, once again, here to support, here to sustain. Finds the bubble that he wants, but the ball doesn't quite land. Either way, you've drawn so much pressure to this lane.
And now, you've got 3 members of Immortals in the top side of the Rift, ready to go. Chains of Corruption are ready for Gume. If they do want to if they find an engage that they like, Hoon still with a little bit of time before Shockwave is available. But, it is Wild Rift. These cooldowns just, continue to be very, very quick and or easy to get. And one thing that I want to point out here is the grievous wounds that now we're seeing out of these Immortal squads. Tony going to be able to safeguard away.
Ooh, it's good
and now looking to be able to try to find a way out of here. Yes, they will be able to survive.
Yeah, the sustained engage here wasn't... They weren't willing to pull that trigger, especially with the fact that they don't have all the information on the board. They just saw the slight rotation come out of Immortals. They didn't know there was a full reset on the board. And with the choke that is there in that jungle, they don't have a lot of access to respond to that. For now, though, it's Tony here. It's the forced dash on the back end. Tidal Wave not quite going to land, but Joey paying the price. That's what you bargain when you pull through with that AD carry. Now Zenith God also out of position due to that heroic entrance. Finds his way over the wall, but it's the Shockwave to follow through. Doesn't quite pick up the kills, but still puts pressure down.
Joey, that's your ADC now gone. There's no way to be able to really defend this tower. DX31 is there with the yellow card, but he's not going to be able to stop it from happening. That is Inhibitor Turret 1 now falling.
Burger King.
Burger King, please survive. He does not lose his crown this time, but Notice Legends picking up a lot there, and now they're going to be able to waltz their way down, not only through Notice Legends jungle, but over to the Infernal Drake as well.
Oh, and there's no response here from Notice that I think will be strong into this one, and I don't think they've got the right take. You already see Tony Bjerger there on complete rotation towards this Baron. That's a waste of time. You're dropping the ball, and Notice Legends are easily going to pick up their second Drake here of the game.
Yeah, Destiny's going to get used, and now they know, hey, we made an error. We know that we're not going to the right area. Charm may be the target of this Destiny and does get hit by the yellow card. The flash is there, and he's going to be able to get away from the Enchanted Crystal arrow. Wow. Charm just continuing to show why he's so strong. And as I say that, he falls and will end up giving his life away. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Yikes is showing us what he can do. Joey will fall. Gume takes a double kill and is now godlike.
As I say, it was close there in response. We almost saw the kite come back here, but in the face of all this distraction towards the top side and those very successful kills in the mid, Immortals are looking to finish this one out. Backs to come through here. DX31's there, but it's the cast put down immediately to CC chin them away and find Immortals to their first victory.
You don't pay attention to the Nexus and you lose the game because of it. Immortals, I mean, because they were able to get those 2 kills in the mid lane, both Joey and Zenith God falling, it was just really too easy because the rest of Notice Legends was up there in the top lane trying to be able to take the kills onto Hoon, onto Charm. It just took way too long. And Notice Legends will unfortunately not notice that their base is being taken and will lose game number 1, but they're not out yet. They can still make this a best of 3 situation, but they've got to win game 2.
Right. And if we're talking about changes here, I just want to pay attention, but more importantly, if you're looking to take it in such a way where you don't describe a very successful lane and you're just trying to counter it, then play apart that, right? DX31 tried, though. We saw that Twisted Fate make 2 return ganks towards that bot side there, but in the face of all that, Gume and Charm, time and time again, not just their vision of the control of that river, but also how they played that wave state out, knowing that, okay, the early game, we can sustain for a little bit, just pack our pockets with the gold, but there's no inherent need to overpush, overstay anything, and as a result, a lane that was supposed to be capitalized on just went completely weak.
Yeah, what is it in Zombieland? Rule number 32, enjoy the little things or something like that. You got to make sure that the little things are taken care of and you got to enjoy them. And
Lord.
I feel like, I'm old, okay? I can talk about Zombieland.
Okay, go ahead.
It's okay.
It's a good movie. I'm young and I like it.
Okay, there you go. Fair enough. But anyway, when I'm talking about the little things, stopping Joey's back, with the piercing arrow, making sure that the vision of the river is controlled, making sure that Tony couldn't get the scuttle crab, had to flash away in the early game because Charm was just way too far ahead. Those little things turn into medium things, which then turn into big problems that Notice Legends just were unable to solve. And the big turning point of this game was, I think, in the mid game when the Rift Herald and the Dragon spawned and Immortals knew what they were doing. They pick up both neutral objectives, and it opened the door for a big win here for Immortals. Pretty solid performance, pretty quick game as well, I would say. Not the quickest, but still relatively quick. That doesn't mean, however, the Notice Legends is out of it. Like we said, it is a best-of-3 series. Anything can happen. It's up to Notice Legends, though, who now get side selection to decide how they want to play out game number 2 and what they want to ban out. Do they give the Varus back again?
Yeah, no.
Or I mean...
Get out of that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's already a pick that is banned not just against Immortals, but everyone here on the market, because as you saw there in that bot lane, it just does so well to not only sustain that wave out, but keep your enemy laners at bay for such a long period of time right from the get-go there. And so that on top of the margin just made it impossible for Notice Legends to make their impact here. One thing that we haven't touched on was how far behind we saw, my apologies, Tony set here on the Lee Sin from the very, very early start of that game, from the forced flash to the early almost death there practically. In fact, Yikes coming into that jungle, taking what was the buff and control of that Baron side. I mean, at any given point for the first 5 minutes, he was never on really proactive footing, which is what he needs, especially when you're trying to play for the early to find those leads here. We talk about these individual lanes. Any benefits that were found were due to themselves sourcing them out.
Yeah, and speaking of then the solo lanes, talk about the top lane, Burger King and Araki Zoro. Like, I want to shout out Burger King though. He didn't fall in the top lane. He didn't really have any problems in that 1v1, I feel like, until he went down to the mid lane, into the bottom lane. That's when things were an issue there. So, I mean, if you're Notice Legends and you are able to make a stalemate against the Gragas, like, are you feeling good about that? Do you maybe try to get a nice top lane champion for your top laner, or do you play it out like you did in game number one?
If you're going to play it out like you did right there, you need more agency to follow up in the mid-late game. Garen doesn't have that, right? There's no solid, hard engage, and the damage that he should be sustaining from winning some semblance of the lane just isn't there. Whereas Gragas can play weak all he wants and then still come to the party just tanky as can be with that cask waiting to pull off in team fights. That's a problem there. Usually you see a response on, say, something like that Malphite if you want to play tank into tank, or I would say the way that Burger King is playing, how kind of paced it is, you would assume he's weak side as well. You can't have that. If you're going to play strong side with some semblance of an advantage, you need to push that as early as you can. But I'll tell you what, Araki Zoro makes that hard. Araki Zoro is an absolute menace up there. He is a doctor. He is the one to learn from, I would say, when it comes to looking at anybody in this pro scene on that Baron lane. Whether it be strong side or weak, we typically see weak because he has a lot of faith in his teammates to get the job done. But hey, he pulled out that Irelia yesterday, and that was an absolute destructive force in the face of his whole team, setting him up instead.
Oh, and that just, I mean, again, another layer that Immortals is able to bring to the table. Yeah, and that's what's really, I think, really awesome about the journey that Immortals has gone through in the last, I would say, in the last couple of months. They really developed their squad. They found a really strong 5-man group that trusts each other, that communicates with each other, and has been able to continue to develop into a top-tier team. I mean, they won, week number 1 of this qualifier is pretty well. I mean, I was very impressed with their performance. And again, it just goes to show the practice, the effort, and just the momentum that they have coming into this the second qualifier. Very excited to see how they're able to develop. But that, again, not necessarily a guarantee that they will win this one. Notice Legends able to get to the semifinals. They got here for a reason. Cloud9, Chong Chortle, they got here for a reason. And now with Notice Legends getting blue side, it means that they have control of the draft a little bit more. Let's see what they decide to do. Game number 2 between Notice Legends and Immortals. Pick ban phase ready to begin. Xayah and Camille fanned out first.
Right. And that Xayah, of course, as well as the Rakan, to get the whole happy couple out of the Rift here. Gume, of course, the top played champion here at the Open Qualifiers happens to be that Xayah more specifically. So I'm not particularly surprised that that's the one we see pulled out here, but you still leave open. Okay, no, you do not leave it open. The Varus is no longer open here, but if Immortals, I would say you have to pick, say, something like that Ashe right from the get-go if you're Notice Legends here, because that's still on the board, and you do not want to give Gume his Ashe. But they do take the Senna. That's a nice, I mean, Immortals are happier with that Senna on their plate too, so there's so much left open.
Yeah, that's what really scaring me right now. I mean, Ashe, Nami, feeling pretty good if you want to go with that. You can go, you can go the Janna as well and be able to get that Monsoon, get that extra knock up there. There's still options that Immortals has in the bottom lane, despite banning out the Xayah, despite banning out the Varus. But now looking at Immortals bans, they're looking more topside. The Baron lane, Camille, and the Malphite banned out. The Olaf getting taken away as well, so a little bit of consistency there. Corki, something that we didn't get to see in game 1, is really, really good in the hands of Hoon. We could maybe see it in the bottom lane if Immortals is feeling, ambitious, and they can play it in that bottom lane, which will be fun, but, a solid first pickup.
Right, absolutely. Gives Hoon some priority of a champ we've seen here. Puts him more on a foot of damage, but the sustained poke should keep this lane happy and healthy, which is exactly what he particularly wants, but it technically could still be flexed at any given point here. For now, though, they're going to wrap it up. They themselves switched it over. They're going to be putting the Lee Sin here into their own hands. We're going to be seeing Yikes back on this one, which we did have the opportunity here of seeing that played out against the Sentinels in game 2, and it was a fantastic pick that gave a lot of love and agency, especially over to some of these solo laners coming out of that first 5-10 minutes or so.
I know we probably aren't going to be living in this timeline, Zephyr, but there is a timeline where we do get Araki Zoro as the Lee Sin in the top lane, and we get to see him play it. I mean, it would be an interesting flex. Maybe if Immortals wants to do a little bit of limit testing here, it would be, again, another ambitious play, especially now that we are getting the Jarvan and the Renekton. Very excited to see how this top lane is now going to be playing out, because you do get one of those early lane top lane bullies in the Renekton, and I'm excited to see what Bjergkir King didn't be able to do with it.
I would be excited as well here, but you still leave open a very happy pick we've seen from Immortals. They're more than willing to throw, say, something like that Gragas right back into this one here. They're going to save the pick. They want to make sure that they secure Charm on that Nami due to the fact that it has so much agency here, but it would be very odd to not see the Gragas ban come out here from Notice Legends, because I'll tell you right now, him playing weak side with that champion against Renekton is probably the most common thing I have seen at this tournament.
I mean, just regardless of who's going to be playing it, I think the Gragas is definitely a solid pickup here. There are other options that Immortals can go for if they want to pick up something else. But the Ashe is going to get banned out. They don't want to give Gume that Ashe, which we've seen played really, really well, but there are still other options still on the table. If they want to play Lucian, they can play the Lucian if they wanted to, but we still have one extra ban left to play for both these teams, so we'll have to see how they want to play it out. I'm with you, though. I think if you don't ban out the Gragas here, it's an easy pickup. You saw it played really, really well, and the synergy that it plays up with, I think, Charm's Nami is just going to be really difficult for Notice Legends to handle.
Now, if we're talking about 80 carry picks in the bot lane that still haven't been sustained, especially if we're not rotating this one down here, you could pull out that Ezreal. Ezreal Nami is something we saw from Immortals here earlier in the first Open Qualifiers, and while it's not as aggressive of a take out of Gume that we're used to, it still has plenty of a realm to secure what they want here. The problem is you kind of need a little bit more aggression, especially out of those solo lanes, which you have the Corki here to sustain and pick up the pace on some of that damage here. And with those two together, I could see this becoming a very nasty poke composition to threaten with. But there you go. Gragas is eventually banned out here. I now am very interested to see what Immortals. This is the first time that we won't see the response of the Gragas into the Renekton for them.
Oh man, and you pick up the Lucian now, so Lucian Nami pretty solid, standard lane that we've seen at least recently, played really, really strong. You are a little bit weak in terms of health. Katarina coming out. I like the idea. Now you get the Cataclysm, the Gnosis. Okay, this is cool. But I'm now unsure of the lane assignments here with the champions. And now what does Immortals decide to pick up here as their last pickup? It's most likely gonna go to Araki Zoro. Do we get to see the Aurelia again? I doubt it, but you know what? Maybe we do. Let's see what they decide to go for.
Yeah, if you want to put strong side Araki Zoro into this one, I have my faith in this guy. He can easily pick it up in that lane need be, or if we're still looking for that flex potential on the Sen, even though I personally wouldn't like to bet my life on it just yet. For them, though, it is going to be that Wukong here, so giving them more sustained engage to follow up what is already a big source of that in both that Nami and Lee Sin. So,
yeah. So, I mean, good pickup here, I think, for Immortals. A solid lineup, once again, that they have been able to draft. I liked how they maneuvered it. I really enjoyed how they really were able to build around what Notice Legends was getting. Didn't really matter. It didn't really matter what Notice Legends went for. The Nas is a little bit of a wild card, though. I'm excited to see what that means for Notice Legends. Is it Renekton then in the mid lane with the Gnosis in the top lane? I think that makes the most sense to me. But Renekton up against Corki, though, I don't know.
I'm more concerned about who's going to be down there in that bot lane in terms of either support or AD carries. At this point here, I don't have a great grasp of whether that Senna could rotate or flex between each of those roles here. What I will say is that in terms of their target focus, it is very single oriented except for that Katarina. Other than that, though, the kite potential that can come out of Immortals, the fact that they already have such a sustained poke as well as just the general sustain here through, say, that Nami, gives them plenty of time to work their way through these team fights before Notice Legends can even get to you, literally.
So, little bit of a scary situation if you are Notice Legends. I mean, this is you are putting out all the stops here. You are trying to make something happen here and really put in something new to the table. And so if you are able to pull it off, you are able to make it a 1-1 situation between yourself and Immortals. You do get to a game 3, and we have seen Katarina's pop off. We have seen Katarinas be able to get those really nice, massive amounts of damage very early on, and you are built for that. If you're able to find a Wither, say, onto the Lucian, or maybe even onto the Corki as well, maybe a little bit harder because of the Valkyrie, you'll be able to get away. But, if you do find a nice Wither, you're able to just obliterate the Lucian before he's able to get that damage going. You could find the rest of the health that you have with the Jarvan, with the Renekton, with the healing that the Senna is going to be able to provide to be able to sustain throughout some of those early engagements that Immortals will be able to go for. Are you going to be able to get to that perfect scenario, and are you going to be able to do it? You're going to need, precise control of the map in order to make it happen. It's not going to happen in a choke point, I don't feel. You're going to have to try to make it with the Cataclysm. We'll see how it plays out, though. Game number 2, Notice Legends versus Immortals. Immortals trying to get themselves into the finals once again. Notice Legends fighting for their Winterside Tournament lives, and let's get into it.
Right, we got a little bit of AP start there from the NAS. Going to be support coming out there. New information for me in particular, but I can definitely see how that plays out. Either way, the thing that does not particularly change is the fact that, kind of like what you're saying, the cohesion here for Notice Legends, especially how they look to play it out in terms of their win condition, needs to be perfect. And I will say, in the early game, it definitely looked good for them, especially with high rotation strategy from DX31 here on that Twisted Fate to constantly reintroduce himself to the bot lane. Had you had Tony as well with the Lee Sin in the very, very, very midst of the early game, I definitely think we would have seen a much stronger Notice Legends. But this time around, the comp is not as easy access. There's plenty of safe for Immortals, especially if you want to peel this one out at any given point here. So when you pull the trigger, it has to be just exactly.
Yeah, you got to be dead shot here. You cannot miss. and you have to fall into place every single time, and we'll see how they are. I'm liking how it's going to play out. I think this is more like a fasting center than I think a Zenith God trying to be able to stack up that damage there. I think that's what's happening. He's getting extra, I think, solo experience because Joey's, away from the tower, so he's getting solo experience. He's already level 2. I think that is the play here. Tony, though, in the mid lane, maybe trying to go up against Charm, does see him in the area and is going to potentially get collapsed upon. He's in trouble. Tony will be able to survive with Joey's assistance. We'll be just fine.
Yeah, Tony's more than successful to find his way out of that one there. But now I look towards Yikes to capitalize there, especially with that information on the board. You saw his presence already in the mid lane. This is that standard handshake that we typically see there early, and it looks to continue to follow up. It's Zoro coming down from the top side now, put with a little bit more extra oomph this time around, playing a bit more strong side with that Wukong. Looks to put that impression across the map here. Follow-up is there, though, from Burger King here into the river onto this top side. We find that engage onto Tony. Remember, they do have that Sonic Wave. First blood down, found 2, I believe, there. But no, yes, just 2.
Just 2, and that is going to mean that Yikes will be able to pick up not only the blue buff, but maybe even more camps as well with Iraqi Zoro helping. That is big for this Lee Sin. And this is the Lee Sin that we wanted to see in game number 1, being super aggressive, getting that control of the other side jungle camps, maybe trying to be able to find those good ganks, and this time the coordination is there. Zenith God is going to get hit, the culling is going to come out, and there it is. Gume and Charm once again showing us their moves.
And the fact of the matter there is he still even had flash up. That is such a lack of respect placed down there, not putting in the analysis that Nami on Charm is an absolute mess, even on the source of engage at any given point there. You didn't have the center to sustain you out, especially off of the back end of that reset, and as a result, they quickly pick this one up here. And so now there is a massive source of gold lead, not just, of course, in that mid lane from Hoon off of great rotation, but also onto Gume.
Everyone on the Rift feeling pretty good against their lane opponents. The only one that's having kind of a respectable situation right now would be, I guess, Iraqi Zoro up against Burger King. It's only about 500 in the deficit there, but everyone is falling behind gold-wise. The big gold difference is this fasting Senna. Joey, now 1,900 gold compared to 3,300 for Gume. Stealing pretty good right now if you are Immortals, because you're getting that Lucian off to a great start. And on top of that, the Charm is going to be able to pick up his Rod of Ages pretty early as well.
This time around here, I think there's a little bit more access in terms of the early game if you want to contest objectives like that out here. That's why we do see this rotation coming through from Immortals. TX31's doing a great job to keep Yikes, though, on the back foot here. So now they don't have that jungler, but they still find rotation in. Tidal Wave down, triple knockup in there. Dawning Shadow's going to keep a little bit healthy, but not enough to secure the kills here. A quick turnaround as the Crocodile comes down, and it makes for 4 dead here on Noticed Legends.
Massive play, and they almost got the dragon as well. Tony was able to smite it away, so Infernal Drake is your consolation prize. But at what cost, Zephyr? At what cost? Notice Legends will lose 4, and the Rift Herald will get taken away as well. Zenith God going to find Gume in the brush. The flash is gone.
Nope.
Zenith God, unfortunately, not going to be able to finish the job.
Yeah, more than slippery enough here, but now a little bit of an engaged topside straight into DX31 right on top of the clone of all things on that Wukong there, putting in most of that damage. For now, though, Los Legends off of this reset, they finally maybe get a little bit more pacing back towards that bot lane, but remember, Nasus is nowhere close to the point, as well as Senna, where they can kind of shred these turrets with the available time. So Gume immediately going to come back with that Infinity Edge on his belt. Now a true problem to deal with.
Yeah, and then you take a look at it right here. Joey going into the Dragon Pit means that Tidal Wave just gets even more out of that one. And unfortunately, Burger King, just a little bit too late to the party, does go in, tries to be able to get that damage in, Pop and Dominus, but not going to be enough pressure, enough damage to be able to get any sort of kills onto anyone. Charm, once again, showing us why he's a really strong Wild Rift player. He has the ability to be able to not only heal up, but also get damage in. But speaking of damage, Yikes gonna find the resonating strike. and will pick up the kill against Burger King, making him an 0-3-0 Renekton, and the Rift Herald will take the first tower of the game as well.
It may put in a little bit more damage. Remember, Burger King still isn't up to contest against this, and you've still got all of the Immortals roster almost up there to contest. So now, looking for that second crash. Oh yeah, it's easily going to find it. They pick up 2 here on this top side.
Massive play. Immortals once again showing us how powerful their early game is. We're not even 7 minutes into the game, Zephyr, and it's feeling like Immortals have this one in the bag. Black Cleaver already taken up for Yikes. Infinity Edge purchased for Gume at 3-0-1 is feeling really good about his positioning. And just so far, Immortals playing flawlessly, have yet to lose a tower, have yet to lose a member.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a bit of a wash here, especially since you're playing into some of the more scaling pressure of, say, something like Hoon on that Corki, or the outward dominance control of Gume on the solution, which will continue to provide here as long as he keeps that massive, almost, what is a 2-item lead here against the response in the opposing bot lane. I mean, that is just disgusting. So what was a comp that's supposed to find those picks, slow this one out, is nowhere close to meeting their win condition.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I am always curious about, but hold that thought just a second. Zenith God, crushing blow gonna land onto him, but he's gonna be now taken away. Yikes is gonna find the Dragon's Rage into the knockups. Rampage for this Lee Sin. Going to be a nice Cataclysm to keep the Gnosis alive, but it's a double kill for Yikes. He's trying to make it 3. Will he find 3? He'll find 3. Does he find
gold.
4? He's gonna go for it. He finds it. He doesn't go for it though, and he will be able to get away. That is a triple kill for Immortals. Still nobody dead. Burger King, pardon me, trying to have it his way, but he's not going to be able to. He's gonna find a bubble instead, and Yikes will survive. It's a rampage for Gume.
I was going to say, it was so close there. You had a little bit of that dawning shadow that might have worked out in securing what was Notice Legends' literally first kill of the game, but the sustain provided back, especially as he had both Goom and Charm walk back into that, was more than enough to work with here. It's a little bit late of a reset, so Notice Legends, they of course are going to get the first take to this dragon, but if they stick around in this pit, the follow-up from Worlds will be huge.
Another dragon going to get taken. Notice Legends will be able to find something here, but Joey will fall for his efforts. Valkyrie getting used by Hoon, maybe trying to find Zenith God out of position, but nope, will be able to survive. So Notice Legends, they do have 2 dragons on the Rift right now, but Gume going to be able to start the Rift Herald. Yikes going to take the blue buff, and once again, Immortals gets the better deal there.
Yeah, more than gets the better deal there. They're able to sustain what is the additional kill there. We do see Hoon fall in response for sticking around towards that bot side, so you can't forget that there is definitely the pick available at any given point with some of these tools here, but maybe it's going to be punished out in response there. Flag and drag down there from Tony, escaping towards this Tribush. Cyclone is quick upon its heels, but unable to find up the knockup.
And now godlike Yikes as he finds Joey once again and finds another Sonic Wave into the bubble. Tidal Wave's going to land on a 3. The culling is going to be there, but Tony will be able to make the disengage happen. No one will fall, but it is now a 9,000 gold lead for Immortals, and they've got Rift Herald ready to pop whenever they find the right situation and the right angle to make it happen.
Well, I would be more than surprised here if they take another team fight and run this one down, similar to what we saw out of Game 1 here. There's not a lot that I can see in terms of a light at the end of the tunnel here for Notice Legends. You want to put some of these major carries, especially say like that Katarina, and a foot that is proactive from the very, very get-go of this game. Seeing 0-1 is all right, but you're still easily 1,000 plus 2,000 almost behind of anyone you'll be contesting against.
What's your thoughts on first item Rabadons?
Burst works. Zonia's came out too as well there. It provides enough. I mean, it's not even close to enough damage though. I mean, this is what I'm trying to convey.
You're right. You're right. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it though. For me, whenever I pick up first item Rabadons, I get yelled at. So just want to make sure. Cataclysm coming through. Tony
Out.
Not gonna be able to survive. Yike's gonna be able to pick up the Sonic Wave, and now the team fight is continuing. Shelly's gonna come through. Donning Shadows is there. It's gonna be Arakizo being able to pick up the legendary kill once again as Yikes gets legendary. Gume will flash out. Yikes will survive. He's gonna be unstoppable. No one can fall on this Immortals squad, living up to their name.
DX31 could still pull that trigger, but remember, does not have the ultimate available to capitalize if need be. Still going to try to find that cat's way there deep on the Yikes, but goes gold to keep himself alive. Sadly, no Rift fall through on that sustained engage. It was taking that.
Yep, and now looking at the gold leads, Yikes 9-0-7. Really solid performance. 16 out of 18 kill participation, almost perfect in what he's been available for. You know, only not being available for 2 kills. That's better than Charm at 0-0-13. And
do you think that's kind of BM? The fact that you pull out the Lee Sin directly up and against them and just absolutely obliterate in terms of performance compared to, say, Tony, who was on it last game? Because I myself would be in a very bad state if I had that happen to me.
You know, BM or not, it's effective. You know, it's working is what it's doing. It is getting the job done, and Yikes is trying to take another blue buff. That would have been the 3rd blue buff that Yikes would have taken away from Tony had he been able to get it. But there are more pressing matters. It's going to be Baron spawning in 20 seconds, the Cloud Drake spawning in 9. And I mean, if you are Notice Legends, that's the only thing you got going for you right now, is the fact that you do have 2 dragons. Maybe you can make it a 3rd. But Immortals trying to make that not a reality. They're going to be at the dragon first and should be able to pick up their first dragon of the game.
Yeah, easily get on top of this one. They're taking now what is the major priority that they have converted from having these advantage in the side lanes as well as the destruction of most of these turrets to just convert to an easy take there. At this point, like to see a contest in terms of the vision. You know that they're not going to be on the Baron as of just yet, so try to pull this one back out, but they don't even have the removal available.
And so, I mean, at this point, like, I think you and I both know, it looks like it is going to be an Immortals win unless, you know, an active COD happens and Lotus Legends is able to find a perfect team fight, that perfect situation where they are able to keep the game stable. Even then, it's still probably going to be a 10,000 gold lead. How does Immortals close this one out? Do they wait for a team fight here? Do they go for Baron and just try to push a lane? I mean, what's the best way that this team composition closes out this game?
I was going to say, with that package, any way they want here now. They can split this one up. They can take a solo engage if they can find it here. They can convert it into a fight and then just run this one down. The Baron isn't a complete necessity. Here, their take straight onto Zenith God. He's going to have to expend the ult, but it doesn't matter. Rakizoro off of the side waves, quick on the rotation here. Now with one member down, 4v5, they have all the right in the world to go for this Baron.
Yep. So it's a little bit of commentator's blessing there. It's you take the pick into the Baron buff. So nicely done. Yeah. You know, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you this time.
Well, for now, they now have Baron on their roster, and the quick follow-up to begin this one out. Tony's able to find the Cataclysm, but he isn't able to survive within it. Both Hoon and Gume waiting for the slaughter to commence to make it to there.
Yep, godlike illusion, 7-0-6. The only death on Immortal side is going to be on to Hoon. That's going to be the root onto Yikes. Donning Shadow going to do absolutely nothing. And Burger King, Pop, and Dominus trying to be able to stay alive. The bubble will not land, but the inhibitor tower is gone. Notice Legends are able to stop the siege for the time being. And we'll keep this game going just a little while longer. But once again, the buffs are getting taken away from Tony.
Yeah, we're almost sitting now at what is a 20,000 gold lead, cresting the end of this game here. You might have a few picks still available, but no damage to kind of collapse or pull a trigger. We saw such a heavy engage in that last fight, say from something like Tony with that major Cataclysm, but the follow through was nowhere to be seen. Even though I know it was a 4v5 there, Nasus isn't the one who's going to be pumping out the majority of your damage, right? There's plenty more to work with, and they still couldn't find it.
Yeah, and with, this composition, you needed Zenith God to be able to find that early damage, you need to find the ability to be able to get those, the stacking damage ready to go so you do get to the late game. Same thing with Joey, finding those souls, finding the extra range and damage that they provide. You needed that early on, and you just weren't able to get it from the very beginning, with Gume and Charm just being able to take that early kill onto Zenith God, pushing him just way too far behind. Another turret's going to go down in the bottom lane now. Immortals
Split.
looking to be able to close this one out with the 4-1 split. Sonic Wave's going to land into the resonating strikes. It's going to be the safeguard to be able to get away. Dawning Shadows will come through. Raki Zoro is low, but he's going to get healed up immediately and will be able to use a Cyclone. He's low again. He will fall. And now Burger King barely able to survive. Gume is going to fall as well. That is a 2 kills for 2. Best situation that you can have if you are Notice Legends. Hoon will get hit by the chains, but will not go down. All inhibitor towers are now fallen, and Notice Legends is trying to do what they can to survive.
All right, now Immortals here. While yes, they weren't able to completely close that one out due to a kind of lack of stunted engager. Tony doing a really, really good job cataclysm some of those carries out before the major follow through on the damage was available. Either way, like you said, they still come out on top. Both of those major inhib turrets are down here, so now what will be the further rush is even harder to defend, more particularly on this next collapse. For now, though, it's going to be that Elder Drake. This is the big one here, and if Immortals take this one, yeah, it's over.
Yeah, but, regardless of that, I want to shout out Notice Legends being able to defend the last 2 sieges. They have not lost their Nexus, and they are doing everything that they can to survive. They want to try to get this to a game 3. They're not just letting Immortals win. They are at least defending their Nexus, and I can really appreciate that. And they're doing it well. They haven't lost yet, and they could have lost had they not been, vigilant with it 3-4 minutes ago.
Well, for now, here it's the Dragon. That's the name of the game. Secure the Elder, and you will be more than adequate enough to take these fights in your advantage. There's a little bit of vision. They should know that this is going on here, but they have to respond. This is what we talk about when those turrets go down. The base crashes in such a way. So now it's a 45. Notably, Burger King probably will not be there.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Cataclysm's going to land all 4 members of Notice Legends in there, and the Tidal Wave going to be able to get the knockups. Rakizoro going to be able to take a kill, and Immortals will also take the Elder Ocean Drake. Tony is low. A double kill for Gume. Burger King is in the area, coming in with that teleport, trying to be able to survive, but will not be able to. Hoon is going to take that kill. Golden DX31 trying to waltz himself away. Won't be able, and it's an ace on top of the Nexus going down. Immortals takes this series 2-0.
Yeah, Immortals now carry on towards the finals in a dominant victory in both games 1 and 2 here now against what is Notice Legends. And it feels bad. It's a repeat coming out of Open Qualifiers 1s. If you are Notice Legends this time around, though, at least you made it all the way to semis.
Yeah, and you have a chance to be able to potentially go for that 3rd place finish as well.
Yes.
And that is big. I mean, 3rd place does get more money than 4th and 5th onward. And on top of that, you also get more points into the playoff picture standing. So there is still a chance for Notice Legends to get a little bit further ahead, depending on who they get face off against. The oof out of that one is the Hoon damage. Wow, 29,000 damage, and Gume as well, 29,200. That is a massive amount of damage. That is more damage than Zenith God and DX31 combined.
All combined.
And I mean, pretty much all of them combined. You're absolutely right. Immortals textbook performance in game number 1. A little bit slower in game number 2, but, the result is the same.
Either way, I can respect Notice Legends here. They've definitely got some source of understanding when it comes to trying to find what will be those counters out, but the real direction for this team, who they really want to work with, play out of, what their win condition strives to be, is still yet to be answered. That being said, there's still plenty of opportunity for them to compete here at Rift Masters, given the futures when we talk about, say, that Open Qualifier number 3 or the Last Chance Qualifier when we do arrive to it, though. As for us, Moose, we've got plenty of more action in store. C9 versus big old Chonk Chortle here coming at you in our next semifinals best of 3. You guys won't want to miss it, though. Stick around and stay tuned.
What's your story? What's your sign? It's like we're twin flames in a different life. Deep connection lights a spark. It's like you know me in the depths of my heart. We're dreamers. Don't care what other people say. We live it like this could be our final day. We're dreamers. Don't care what the others say. We're doing this in our way. We come alive in the nighttime. It's something about how we dance in the moonlight. That look in your eyes, it tells me that you want me and all my loving. We come alive in the nighttime. You and I, we come alive. We come alive. We come alive. What's your weakness? What's your type? Somehow I wanna know all about you. Deep connection lights a spark. You already know me when we dance in the dark. We're dreamers. We live it like this could be our final day. We're dreamers. We're doing this in our way. We come alive in the nighttime. It's something about how we dance in the moonlight. That look in your eyes, it tells me that you want me and all my loving. We come alive in the nighttime. You and I, we come alive. We come alive. We come alive. We come alive. Tell me that you want me. I can see you want me by the look in
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't a long one, but that's good. That means we're making our way forward here now for Cloud9 versus Chonk Chortle. It's still me. It's still Moose alongside me here as we're going to be taking you through our next semifinals matchup.
Oh man, and this is gonna be one that's super fun. Chonk Chortle versus Cloud9. It's gonna be a rumble in the jungle, as the cool kids would say. We got both Black Camel and Tarzan both in this game, going up against each other, trying to make it happen and trying to be able to show us what they've got. And we already have the draft ready for you guys, folks. No waiting to get that draft ready. We're already gonna begin into this matchup, and taking a look at these drafts, oh my goodness,
There's a lot.
this jungle is gonna be real fun.
Right, you already got that Riven v Wukong. Riven here, scale with a bit of damage for Tarzan, giving him a lot of pressure to hopefully find what he needs in terms of solo advantage. Cloud9 does love to rely on that man himself, but even if that does not come through, they still have plenty to work with, whether we talk about Rift there in that bot lane or Meals here on that Corki. In response there, Wukong, perfect setup for Chonk Chortle to give presence to something that we had the lovely opportunity of seeing yesterday in our quarters, the Akali, once again making itself well known here for Fat Cat in the mid lane. And I told Dia yesterday, you know, seeing the fact that they have so much more agency left available here to Fat Cat will be really interesting for the ends of this tournament if he wants to pull it out, and he does just so.
Yeah, and remember, Chonk Chortle last week, they were able to make it all the way to Grand Finals where they faced off against Immortals. They are looking to make it that salty run back here in week 2. But this is a matchup that we did not get to see in week 1. These both Cloud9 and Chonk Chortle on different sides of the bracket. They didn't get to face off against each other. Cloud9, I think, was up against Immortals and fell short in that one. And then Chonk Chortle able to make it through the bottom side of the bracket and take on Nagawara and take that win there. So this is going to be the first time that we get to see these two teams face off against each other, at least in the RiftMSTRS qualifying tournaments. And like we were talking about a little bit earlier, it is a rumble in the jungle. Tarzan and Black Camel are both really, really strong and have very different ways of playing the jungle that influence how the team comps and how the teams are being played.
Right. We talked about Black Camel. He's more of an influence towards his team here. We did see him pop off yesterday as the almost solo carry on the Jarvan, surprisingly, but still, he does enable more than I would say Tarzan does. He finds himself his own victory in his right, and that's why we see him on the ribbon. But past all of that, of course, it's Rumble in the Jungle, but we've got plenty of other picks here on the board. The one notably I do want to discuss is that top lane matchup, Renekton v Darius. A bit more on the skill end of things here, but I'll tell you what, we just got done with Iraqi Zoro. Luan can be just as bad here. Plays those strong sides, and especially the Renekton in such a decisive manner. I don't know if that Darius will be, safe and sound.
Nah, Darius doesn't play safe. He plays on the wild side. He's gonna have, he is gonna have a little bit of a tough game, though. I think if he doesn't get a little bit of assistance, if not, he could potentially find himself in dire straits. Because Chong Turtle has options to win the game through any of these lanes. If you get the Xayah going on really early, I mean, you can get it to a big game situation and you're able to just have those big team fights with Feather Storms into the quickness from the Rakan. If the Akali gets going, if you guys know Akali, you guys know how powerful a hyper carry Akali can become. And if you win in the early game for a Renekton, he's just so powerful as this early game bully that no one else is able to play up against him. But let's get ourselves started. Chong Turtle versus Cloud9. Our second of two semi-final matches here today, Zephyr. It's going to be a super fun one.
Absolutely here, and it has a lot on line. Of course, like you said, whoever wins this one will be making their way to contest against Immortals in that finals here. One thing though, before we get into this Rift in action it will provide here is, for the draft, Cloud9 I really feel like does not have a really stable sense of engage, especially when we approach that mid game. That might come back to bite them later on. They have plenty of damage and they have plenty of follow through here, whether they want to find the picks or capitalize rushing someone down. But if they're in this kind of standoff 5v5 where they need to pull the trigger, that doesn't particularly exist unless they're able to capitalize off their own poke.
What I'm surprised about, though, is Cloud9 making the decision to put Griff onto the Corki in the bottom lane and have Meals use as the auction in the mid lane against Fat Cat. I'm not against it. I'm just kind of surprised because personally, in my opinion, I think the auction plays really well into the bottom lane. I think that he has a little bit more stability there, whereas in the mid lane, it's a little bit more high risk, high reward.
I think there is a little bit more of a weakness to him that when we throw Akshan in there, especially if you keep running it back with Camel, which we've seen time and time again here, but you give such a heavy opportunity towards that bot side. For now, though, heavy engaged Camels, deep force that flash out. Tarzan going to be forced to use that honey fruit, but the response from Meals is enough poke to keep the fight more than balanced.
Right, and that's exactly what we expect out of Black Camel. Aggression early and often, especially in the mid lane to be able to get Fat Cat going, though. Got to be careful in the bottom lane. Joseki going to get down to about 100 HP, but he ain't going to have to walk away.
To finish up on that point there, Griff here having the option to consistently keep the poke in his favor on this Corki. A lot of sustained damage is more than enough to keep the priority in this bot lane's favor. For now, though, it's a quick response. Grand entrance found. Hestia with the knock, but Meals is there with quick response. The feather on the pullback, though, takes him low. Either way, he still finds first blood. Dashes forward to get another kill here. Stemmed on to straight of Hestia. Fat Cat a little bit slow on the rotation is still, actually no, is unable to find the kills there, especially as those flashes come through.
Oh, that was clean, Meals. Oh, that was really, really good. I liked the hook shot to be able to just, Tarzan his way into a double kill. Not only do you take down Black Camel, who needs that early game pressure to be able to really, push the game into a good situation and get this massive monumental play going through, but on top of that, you give a double kill over to Meals, which is huge. And Black Camel, he initiates this fight. I think he was trying to find the Nimbus strike on to Joseki to be able to get that kill first, but couldn't find it, couldn't find that little bit of damage, and will fall short. Meals once again showing us that double kill and giving Cloud9 the early advantage.
Right, so now if you had any concerns about Meals in that mid lane in particular, with the safety, whatever, he's got all of the damage to secure himself any kind of presence he wants there against Fat Cat. but there's still plenty of room for Chonk Chortle to make their way back into this one. Tarzan's doing a good job to pressure this one. Remember, Campbell does not have the ultimate available here, so no Cyclone. That means no engage. The response, the damage, the follow-through. First kill found there for Tarzan to keep this one running forward. There's now Meals here to play.
Massive
He's able to sustain
damage.
that damage, though. And Luan, one more auto, one more swing. He might have been able to sustain out, but instead, it's another kill for Meals.
Oh, it looked so good there. It looked really good for Cloud9 to start things off. You were able to take down Fat Cat early. Tarzan able to get a nice use of the Broken Blade to be able to find that damage. And then on top of that, you then get Fat Cat and Nori with a massive Feather Storm in that engagement. You have to wonder, had Black Camel had Cyclone ready to go at that point, that team fight might have gone so differently. But now, Cloud9 is in the lead by about 3,000 gold, and they got priority at this Rift Herald.
Right, well, at least it is more of a handshake. The Dragon is going to find its way over to Chonk Chortle in response here, but this doesn't change the fact that there is still that sustained 2.5k lead, found most notably here, of course, on, my apologies to Meals, but overall, a big success here from Cloud9.
Yeah, and now it's where does Tarzan decide to drop the Rift Herald? Gonna do a lot of damage onto Luan. Gotta be careful, gonna flash away. The turret damage is there. The Noxine Guillotine will drop. And Luan trying to be able to survive. He's slicing and dicing his way. I can't believe it.
Good stun.
Luan is a beast. And Tarzan will barely survive. Oh my goodness, Cloud9 is just thanking their lucky stars once again.
Just barely enough damage to sustain the kill they needed. Tarzan and Zillow both come out alive off of what was a very extended dive. In turn, in the mid lane with all of that priority that's been assumed here and the early kills advantage into that that Blade of the Rune King, Meals is able to push this one down more than adequately.
Wow, I mean, if you're Chonk Chortle, I mean, you're having some pretty strong execution. You're playing that, I think, as well as Luan could have played it. There in that 2v1 in the top lane. And once again, you know, barely Zello and Tarzan are able to come out on top there. But I think you're feeling pretty happy about how, you know, mechanically how you guys are playing. You've just got to be able to finish the job. And if this is, you know, if this does go to Cloud9 in game number 1, this is still a best-of-3 series. You're feeling out your opponents. You're trying to find what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. Little bit of damage on to Fat Cat. He will be able to survive, but we got 3 members of Cloud9 in the bottom lane trying to be able to pick up the last outer tower. And will they sign the dive? Let's find out.
They already know Black Camel's in their grand entrance down, and an easy pickup, knowing that that Wukong is ready to go, makes it quick disengage here for Cloud9. They don't have the wave to work with, so why stick around there? Instead, it's a nice and clean rotation. That mid lane, Zilo's been keeping this wave hot here, clearing this one out, and now it will crash onto this tier 2. They could easily look for Luan, pulling the pullback. There's the exhaust. Keep the Axis swinging, and while the Dominus is just enough for a second more, not enough for his life.
Yeah, Tarzan barely able to get that last little bit of damage with that nice slice, and will be able to make sure that he does fall. And that's something that, you know, you bring up Zello and how he's been able to keep these lanes pressured. That's probably one of the strongest top laners that we've got in this tournament, I would say. You know, weak side, strong side, however you want to play him, especially strong side, though. I think his Darius has been shown to be one of the best in the league, I would say. And beyond that, he's shown that he just has control and he stays composed in those really high-risk situations. He finds the mechanically strong positioning to get himself into either assists or kills. And right now, 0-2, feeling really good about where he's at.
The light at the end of the tunnel, though, Nori's still not quite put at the back end just yet. Comes back with that Infinity Edge, basically equivalent to Griff here on the opposing side of Cloud9. Now, yes, Meals, Tarzan, Zilla, they're all in an absurd lead in their own right, but we're talking about potential win conditions for Chonk Chortle there.
Yeah, and Emil's going to fall once again. Fat Cat has won out in the 1v1 twice now, and they're looking to be able to make a play here onto Tarzan. It's It's going to be the quickness getting used onto
Good
Zello
charm,
into the Cyclone.
Cyclone.
The Featherstorm is there. The Root is going to land a lot of damage onto Zello. He will not be able to survive. Nori is going to fall, however, making it a 1-for-1. Black Camel is now the target. He'll get knocked up, and he will fall. So Cloud9 does get the better end of that deal.
Right, now they can transfer that level of priority straight on over to the Dragon here. And the craziest part about it is the numbers advantage was more than in favor of Chonk Chortle for quite some time there, and they still couldn't quite find what they needed here. Maybe it would have spelled a little bit different had Luan been there, but hey, man, they got what they needed. They had the heavy engage with the Cyclone coming right out of Taunt Quickness. The sustained damage to follow through there just wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, and so now the Dragons will be evened out. It's an Infernal Drake as well for Cloud9, which is arguably a little bit better than the Mountain Drake, I would say. So I think they get a good play there. But Black Camel trying to be able to finish the job onto this Rift Herald. They will be able to take the Rift Herald, and now the fight is going to continue. The flash, Zello will fall. Black Camel will try to get out of that one,
Rift's
but
there. He's
will
got
die.
package.
Tarzan is gold, and the package is available, and he's going to split up Chonk Chortle. Luan trying to be able to do what he can. He's not going to be able to get any other kills. He will fall. Fat Cat is there, and he will fall again. And a double kill for Fat Cat, but 4 members of Chonk Chortle go down.
Well, there was some to fall here in response for Cloud9, I believe, as well, but they got a little bit of that reset coming off of sustained kills there from that auction. That's why you got 11. And the timers, they're not quite long, but that can become absolutely detrimental in the face of the later states of these games. Priority still found, though. They're able to push this one out, not only in that mid lane, but as you can see, Jackie towards that top side on the center to keep this one rolling here. So now, as it's gotten into more of the 5v5 actions, what was a source of a semblance of lead for Chonk Chortle in this Zaya here for Nori has now begun to fall off, as Corky, notably, has begun to shine.
Yeah, and you can see he's not even close to the fight at this point, but he does get the extra little bit of movement speed from the package. Nori, though, it did have a decent Featherstorm. Being able to get the root on to Zello will not be able to be part of that fight, but unfortunately, the health bars just get too low, and a beautiful Valkyrie. The slowing field that it provides is just more than enough dispositioning that Chonk Chortle isn't really able to respond to, and they fall short. While they do get the Rift Herald, they lose a lot out of that play.
For now, they'll have to use it in some direction to maybe sustain these fights out for just a moment longer. But Chonk Chortle, they still keep finding responses of their own. You can't quite keep anyone in the 1v1 here against Fat Cat, so Darius will fall. And it's a good response from Hestia. She does get that knock up there with that grand entrance.
Yeah, big. Anytime that you can get even more damage onto Fat Cat and any more kills onto Fat Cat, it is big. Chonk Chortle is now really relying on Fat Cat to play well. Cyclone's going to land onto the quickness onto Jackie, trying to be able to survive, but Black Camel will go down. Featherstorm is going to get used into the root, but it will not be enough. Nori will fall. Luan is trying to be able to get something. Fat Cat will end up falling, and now Griff looking to be able to finish the job. It is a double kill for Tarzan, and the ace is all but inevitable. Luan trying to put some shenanigans in will give the triple kill over to Tarzan.
Tarzan keeping that level of aggression more than well and up here, and that's why the ribbon came out from the very get-go here. Now, they don't have quite the wave to push this one all the way out, but no, it's Zillow once again keeping up the consistency on the side here, able to convert that towards that pressure in the middle.
Yeah, and Inhibitor Tower also falls. You know, that's big for Cloud9, especially since it is in the Baron lane as well, with Baron spawning in the next minute or so. Drake is spawning in the next 20, so there are options for Cloud9 to take this advantage into an even bigger play for them a little bit down the line. And now Chonk Chortle, they're looking to be able to find a response here, and they need to find it soon. Otherwise, Cloud9 is just going to be able to ride this snowball right into a game number 1 win.
And they don't really have anything in this composition that slows the game down, which would be very, very helpful right now. As it stands, Cloud9 has found all the advantages they want to keep crashing these waves with such a level of aggression. And the sad thing is, you have to step up to contest, especially for things like the Baron, and every time Chonk Chortle does, it is a quick, insane response the massive discrepancy, I don't know if we particularly touched on it, is an almost 6K gold lead here in favor of Tarzan versus Black Camel. I mean, this was our marquee matchup. We came into this match looking to see how Camel would perform against Tarzan.
Speaking of the jungle as well, that Rift Herald had to get dropped in the river before it expired. Didn't even get a headbutt in onto that top tier 1 tower. In fact, Cat just drops it with some auto attacks. So unfortunately, that one advantage that Chong Turtle was able to get, which remember gave Cloud9 4 kills, did absolutely nothing for them in the end. And so that is unfortunately going to be a bigger advantage now for Cloud9. They're up by 13,000 gold. No way yet for Chong Turtle to get back from it. At this point, it's going to be a lot of damage. Dawning Shadows will get used, but no one will fall just yet. Redemption is going to drop. And the root's going to land on a 3. Tarzan will come in, and now the team fight must be played. Huan is going to fall.
Meals
it's going to be 2 members playing. Meals comes in, tries to be able to continue to clean up, and they do. Black Camel, the only remaining Chong Turtle member alive. Tarzan is there, looking to make the 1v1 a complete ace for Cloud9. They're going to play him under tower. The Nimbus strike, it will not be enough. And it's an ace for Cloud9 and most likely a win in game 1.
Cloud9 here off of a fantastic victory are able to walk this one down. And as you said, find their way to a victory here in the first game of the series.
Man, I mean, all on the back. That last team fight, huge roots onto 3 members of Chong Turtle's squad in a choke point as well. It was massive there. But despite that team fight, Cloud9 just being able to get the 1-up in the early game, barely being able to survive in some of those early engagements, net them big wins and a big early advantage that nets them game number 1.
Right.
And now with game number 2 coming through, early game though for Chong Turtle, had it been a little bit tighter, this might have been a different series and a different game.
Right. You touch on exactly what we need to look at here. It's the fact that Chong Turtle never really did anything to stent the bleeding that came through here in that early game. And the sad thing was the fact that you still had some really adequate performance out of both Fat Cat and Nori, notably. You have to give props to Tarzan, though, here for controlling what was that level of the jungle pressure in such a way that, heck, you didn't even see Camel have the Cyclone available. They were saying what was 2 levels down here in comparison to both Tarzan there when he quite crucially needed it.
Yeah, I was looking at the damage just real quick there. I mean, it was more than triple the damage that Black Camel had in that game comparatively to Tarzan. That is a big Riven in game number 1 that was able to really push us and push Cloud9 into that win. But it is a best of 3 scenario, and Chong Turtle has something to prove. They want to go up against Immortals once again and show that they have what it takes to take on that team and win out a series against them. But in order for them to do that, they've got to beat Cloud9. However, Zephyr, we were talking about this before the show as well. Cloud9, they've really developed as a squad, and they're kind of, covering up some of the weaknesses that they might have had earlier on in the year. And it's really showing them off here in at least this first game against Chong Turtle.
Right. We talk about, there's such a level of control coming out of Tarzan. Of course, that is the major win condition that we discussed here from Cloud9. But at the same time, they're also converting a lot of that over to both Meals and Griff. Meals, notably, super huge on that auction, putting in some real work, especially in the early game, kind of being the convert, not really Tarzan, but him off of some of these major rotations, keeping not only Pride in lane, but also making sure he had the impact to at least keep these side lanes under control and put himself on a really good foot forward. And you yourself kind of made note, why throw Griff down there to Corki to just absolutely decimate as well. There was no chance for that Zyra Rakan to ever find their way into that lane early, especially since that was Griff laying down the punishment right from the get-go.
Yeah, and great Valkyries with the package in the mid game and in the late game as well. And with that coming into that tells me that this squad, this Cloud9 squad, extremely versatile. they've got options to be able to put in some unconventional choices into the bottom lane, into the mid game. And with that versatility, you allow a player like Zello, who's extremely strong as a Baron lane player, who knows how to control the top state of the game, to really shine, because you have to focus on that mid lane, on that bottom lane, to make sure that they don't get going early on.
Right, it gives him a little bit more safety. I don't think he was particularly, super aggressive on that Darius there, but like you said, the level of control that we saw come out of Zello was something I was more than surprised to see, especially since Luan is the one to kind of dictate the flow that goes up there towards the top side. The only person thus far that we've actually seen put a stop to Luan so far has been Iraqi Zoro from the Immortals roster. Everyone else has faltered into the face of his strong side play. So to see Zello kind of pull back, keep this one a little bit more reserved, there was definitely some help served his way by Tarzan, but that was to be expected. So in his own right, came out.
I want to bring it over to Chong Chortle's side, though, because it wasn't like, well, it might have looked dominating on paper. It wasn't a dominant loss against them. I still think that Chong Chortle had options and ways to come back into the game. They just weren't able to pull it off. I thought Luan's Renekton was extremely fun to watch. I think he had some really good plays that just weren't able to take the kills. I go back to that 2v1 with Tarzan and Zello. They were able to really, kite off the tower damage pretty quickly, or pretty effectively there, and Luan did not get those kills. Had he gotten them, he would have been able to play that Renekton a little bit better. A Fat Cat on the Akali was really the only one that was able to go up against Emil's and perform well against him. So, there were shining moments that Chong Chortle had. And now as we move into game number 2, those shining moments are going to need to be a ray of hope for this squad to be able to make this a best-of-3 situation.
Right. I think going into this one, all Chong Chortle has to do is, if they want to draft a comp like that again, I think that's perfectly well and said. They just have to temper themselves here and not just, finding good pacing on Camel to fight against what was Tarzan's, chokehold there of the jungle, but some of these side lanes as well can't be dropping those major kills early. Cloud9's win condition didn't particularly have the setup for mid to late game if it didn't have that sustained poker damage to follow through, but they still found it. And when they found it, that was what spelled the end here for Chong Chortle. So if they can take the time, kind of pull this one back, slow it up a little bit, and of course, find that light out of the tunnel before they close off themselves, I can definitely see them coming back into this. For now, though, it's got the bans. They're already up on the board. Chonk, of course, handing away what is some of those strong picks that can be unlocked, but also the Thresh that we've seen Cloud9 pull out more than enough here. In response, though, some other strong additions, that Varus, the Ashe, of course, the Nami.
I'm excited to see what Chong Chortle is going to be able to do now with this Senna. Maybe Nora is going to be playing that one, or it does go into the support role. It could flex either way, but, good first pickup. We've seen it first picked actually a couple of times here today, so interesting to see that. Cloud9, though, they get the Renekton and they get the Corki, so we expect Cloud9 to pick Zello for that Renekton. Griff played really well with the Corki, but you don't want to count out Meals, who can also play really well as that champion, so it's a very nice flexible pickup that Cloud9 is able to get. I want to talk about the bans, though. Varus, Nami, and Ashe decided to get banned out by Cloud9, really focusing on the bottom lane here in game number 2.
Right, trying to put a chokehold down here on Chong Chortle. And the crazy thing is, I typically don't see Chong Chortle in terms of playing a win condition down there for Nori or Hestia. I think Hestia can be a fantastic engage if they want to work with that most times around here. But stereotypically, I look towards the top side when I look at this matchup. But the thing to note here is, now that they're putting more of a reliance towards Griff, something that you yourself have kind of described as an evolution here for this roster, as we've seen them perform across open qualifiers, leaving that bot lane to be more of a mixed bag for Chong Chortle that they don't usually capitalize on, gives Cloud9 finally the full leeway to play around that versatility that has come about.
Oh, man. And I look at that Fiora. Oh, this is such a big test here for Chong Chortle. They're putting it all on the line on Luan right now to be able to play really, really strong in the top lane, to show us why he is one of the best top laners in the league. I mean, no disrespect to Immortals and what they're bringing to the table, but I do feel like in terms of the top lane matchup, Luan and Zello, they both have really presented themselves as two of the best in the tournament. I think in terms of the top lane games that they have, And I think that with the Fiora getting picked up, that's such a feast or famine champion that if he doesn't get going, it really shows that Cloud9 knows what they're doing with Zello, knows how to combat Chonk Chortle and Luan specifically here. And so really rolling the dice here for Chonk, and I'm excited to see how it plays out.
We have seen the Fiora before, and I think the one thing I've taken off from Luan is how incredible it can be, not just as the side lane split that it does provide with that pick initially, but the fact that he also plays team fights remarkably well. One of the few Fioras that I've seen really come in and collapse on some of these major carries when time permits it here, and hopefully it will come through. I will say Cloud9 has such a slippery roster on all three of these picks that Ezreal to stack that one in as well. Getting a solid engage off here will be super hard, not just because of the people, but the fact that you just simply cannot touch these guys sometimes.
Yeah, the Arcade Shift, the Valkyrie package or not, going to make it difficult for Chonk Chortle to be able to lock them down unless you're able to find some roots or the taunt earlier on into that. So I'm excited to see what pickups they want to go for. Chonk Chortle, a little bit of a respect ban there against Meals. Don't allow them to get that auction, though I don't know where they would put it.
Yeah, I don't know.
To be honest with you. But they are picking up a Garen now. So this is actually very interesting to see. I'm excited to see what Cloud9 wants to do with the Renekton now. Does that mean that maybe the Renekton goes into the jungle here? Or maybe it's a support Renekton? We'll have to see. Chonk Chortle's going to pick up the Orianna and the J4 to round out their composition. So trying to be able to get some lockdown into it, but maybe they're playing into Cloud9's hand a little bit here.
Right, I look at that damage, and we go back to Luan being the heavy presence here for Chonk Chortle. Now it's even more dominant of a pick. That being said, though, it's very similar to game one. Once they start getting towards middle lane, and you get to really put the burst back into the hands of Orianna and Senna, who then scales up remarkably well, that's when you start to see Chonk Chortle come alive here, especially since they have so many tools to route into a good fight, even if Cloud9 is as slippery at it as they are.
Right. And that's where I'm a little bit concerned right now for Chonk Chortle is, are you going to be able to get those massive ultimates? Okay. Alrighty. Yes. What a composition here for Cloud9. Corki, Renekton, Ezreal, Garen, and Aurelion Sol.
The poke is so annoying.
Man, I love the Star Dragon. It's great. You don't get to see him as often as you like it to. This is only the second time that I've been able to see Aurelion Sol in Wild Rift play. The first time I saw him was back in May. So it's been 6 months since I've seen him. I'm very excited. I love the Star Dragon. I love his fancy hat as well. Super excited to see how they're going to be able to use it effectively there. Who's going in the jungle here, Zephyr? Is it Renekton or do we see the Garen?
You might be throwing that Ezreal Corki towards bot lane, Garen in the top, Renekton jungle, Relin throw that into the mid. I mean, that's my personal guess right now here. I'm not the most or the best when it comes to adequately guessing this one out here. What I can tell you, though, is that they've secured a really strong front for themselves that they'll be able to capitalize on in terms of creating this kind of wall here against Chonk Chortle in the face of their engage, because you put Renekton and Garen on that front and you get this nice curve here that Cloud9 is going to be able to pin from the back. They just constantly shove in so much damage from afar, which should be enough to keep Chonk Chortle at bay. So hopefully they play towards it. They definitely need to play into what is those team fights. I don't think the side lanes or the push are going to be anything that would stand out, but maybe Zelo will tell me otherwise here.
You know, he does have some opportunities here, but Chonk Chortle, they built up a composition. They have a composition that we've seen before that has been effective, and now it's about execution. Cloud9, I feel like this game is a little bit more of a limit test. They are one up in the series. If it does go to a game 3 situation, it goes to a game 3. But if they win this one, they're able to, either have a little bit of fun with it or bring something to the table that is new to me, at least, because I've not seen this composition at all.
You get a little bit more versatility, but like I said, I think this comp's just annoying. I think it gets super annoying coming to mid-late game, right? You talk about Chonk Chortle. They have sustainable engage. The fall through their damage might be a bigger question, but hey, you put Luan on a good foot forward, and suddenly that's not as much of a question, especially since it's going to Rihanna. They scale up here. But as for Cloud9, like I said, it becomes more and more of a problem, especially as that goes later and later. For now, though, we work our way here into the second and what could potentially be the final game of this series.
Oh man, I hope it's not though. The first game one between Chong Turtle and Cloud9, I think was really fun. And with the way that Cloud9 has built this composition, it just tells me that, you know, they're playing not only to win but also have fun as well, and that's what I like to see. And I like seeing the big important game threes that come through. Let's see how it plays out though. A little bit of damage onto Luan. Gotta be careful because of the early and consistent damage that an Aurelion Soul provides in the melee situation. Zello, though, going to take a lot of damage onto Luan. He's going to have to pop the barrier.
And the flash.
We'll be able to escape. Wow.
Yeah, it comes out with that flash regarding the last second there. Don't know if it was completely of necessary regard there, but didn't have the information that we saw them pull off of there. Either way, both mid laners took such a beating that they both had to return back to base here. So a little bit of the advantage that you tried to take, getting that early information flowed out here, and Chonk Turtles technically come out on top. In terms of early vision, the only one that is secured for Cloud9 is the response up there by that blue buff. As for the rest here, we should get some nice tracking out on Tarzan here, which I hope you didn't. You're just seeing this. Tarzan's playing that Ezreal in the jungle.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. You know, you get to arcane shift over walls. You can just clear those camps so quickly, and he accurately predicts that it is going to be some vertical jungling here. Luan versus Zello, though, going to get hit by the stun, and we'll have to disengage. Picks up those honey fruits to be able to survive. That does mean that it is a Garen support. And I'm curious to see, you know, what support he does bring to the table for Griff. And does Griff even really need any support with how well he played game one?
Right, he has a level of control here in this bottom lane. I think Jackie does a good job to set up, but too far forward there in the moments, and you get a nice response from Camel. Of course, since this river has been lit up such in favor for Chonk Turtle for so long, so gets the flash directly out of Jackie there from the very get-go, finding what was a very deep flag and drag here on the opposing side.
Yeah, and I think that's something that maybe they should have realized was going to happen, because they both did some vertical jungling there, so maybe a little bit of a faux pas coming in from Jackie, but flashes away, doesn't lose his life. A game is a little bit slower here in game number 2. No one's died yet at 2 minutes and 20 seconds, which is a nice change of pace. But, you know, now with level 5s coming through, for Meals does have the opportunity to go in for some damage, is going to have to walk away after getting hit by that shockwave. He actually stays in. He has the barrier. He does have Star Surge. He's going to be able to get a lot of damage on the Fat Cat and gets the first blood. Beautiful use of those stars, getting that outer limit damage.
Males just baiting it in there for Fat Cat. Thought he had it right off the back end of the shockwave, but the midst of the dragon hadn't quite come out just yet. The absurd burst that, like you said, comes out and say something like the Star Surge is just too much to handle, especially when you don't have the barrier. For now, though, Zelo coming in here with that dominance, able to find his own response here on the Cloud9 top side. So these solo lines finding some very good success, but Chonk Turtle, they strike back.
Oh, nice play onto Jackie. Going to be able to get the knock up, and he will fall. So good retaliation, at least to be able to get some damage on to, or a kill at least on to Black Camel. And like we're talking about, it is kind of your carry here, but the stun going to get back at to down to about 200 HP. Here's Zephyr, and just continuing to put this pressure onto the Soriana.
I will say that Ezreal is stunted in his growth of how he can assess each of these lanes here for quite some time. He can find his way in, but in terms of really locking them down, doesn't really have the opportunity here. So this early game where you have such a heavy presence out of Black Camel is really one of the best bets that Chonk Turtle has to put themselves into a nice spot for either Luan or what will be Fat Cat mid lane. For now, though, they can test against this Rift Herald, and they gotta be careful. The pinch is coming through, especially with that package on the side.
Ooh, Zella's going to get rooted into the True Shot Barrage. Zella will be able to survive for a little while longer, but Camel will take the kill onto Jackie. He will try to be able to continue to keep it going. A nice root onto Griff, Meals, and Tarzan, but it's not going to be enough. The outer limit damage into the stun is there. Camel is going to be the next target. He's going to have to flash away. And the Rift Herald also gets taken by Cloud9. They're continuing to keep the siege. Cataclysm is going to land onto Griff. Camel trying to be able to survive, but Meals looking to find the pursuit. He has to be careful, though. Doesn't have a lot of mana, and will just let him fall to the tower, giving Tarzan an extra kill. Tower's going to go down. Fiora's going to come in. Luan is going to try to pick up some kills here, and does get one onto Meals.
Overall there, Cloud9, they did come through exactly the way I expected. Split that fight remarkably well, especially through what is that package coming right out with the Valkyrie here from Griff. But the follow-up, the damage from Meals and Tarzan, that's what really spelled the end here for Chonk Chortled. Now, the overstaying was something that I don't know if they had to really deep dive for those kills under turret, and either way, it did kind of give a bit of a response back to Chonk Chortled that kind of shored up some of those weaknesses that now has led over to them securing this Ocean Drake. But that level of control, that kind of proactive nature will only grow with time here for Cloud9.
At 2-0-3 right now for Tarzan. I mean, this is a pretty solid early game for him. Despite not having a lot of pressure in the first couple of minutes, now after that team fight has 2 kills, and with that Blade of the Ruined King along with the Sheen, will now pack a punch no matter where he wants to go into. I don't think he's not playing like a traditional jungler. He's just gonna be there for the damage and just looking to keep that sustain going. Right. Black Camel, though, gonna have to be careful. Tarzan is waiting in the wings. And we'll just go.
They might turn this around. Yeah, they'll just go straight for mid lane. They don't even care about the bot lane. Job done. Hestia spotted out very early on there, and as a result, they take quick priority. Now going to push this one out in the mid. Griff and them could be looking for the dive, but they do realize that Nori and Like are there in response.
Yeah, oh man, Tarzan, he could just go so deep and just, you know, put on the blinders, I would say, against Chonk Chortled. Made sure that everyone wanted to go towards the nice squishy Ezreal, but he can just Arcane Shift away. They take the tower, and he walks out scot-free. It's pretty nice to see there if you are Cloud9, now up by about 4,500 or 5,500 gold. Pardon my math problems there. But still, Chonk Chortled, they're not out of this game. They just gotta, you know, again, tighten it up a little bit and find those picks.
All right, and last time around, I was going to count Cloud9 out if they didn't find success in the early game, which they did handily in that game 1. This time around, they've got so much scaling potential that to drop such a severe amount of gold here early definitely looks very bad for Chonk Chortled. We talk about the weakness of this draft and where its damage is really going to come from. If you don't even give them the time, it's not a problem here for C9.
Mm-hmm. And right now, I mean, I was talking about how important Luan needs to be for this draft. 1, 2, and 1 is about 1,400 gold against Zello, or behind Zello, I should say, who's 1-0-3. Has the Bramble Vest, which is the big pickup here if you are this top laner, if you are Zello, because it means that you're going to be able to stop the healing that Luan is going to be trying to go for, especially if he drops the Grand Challenge onto him. But for now, the big play is going to be for that Rift Herald in 20 seconds. That last team fight was super massive for C9. They were able to pick up a lot of kills and that damage onto that tower. Now, this time, they're looking to go to the bottom lane really in deep.
Oh, deep it is, but Tarzan, this is what we talk about, more than slippery enough, and as a result, it is a waste of that Cataclysm. And while they aren't able to find what they want in terms of the turret, that's good enough in my book.
Yeah, being able to take that ultimate away from them means that Chonk Chortled has no way of stopping Cloud9 from starting off this Rift Herald. Zella's going to be able to pick that one up yet again, or not pick it up, but at least start it, being so dominant in terms of being able to take control of the lane. No. Tarzan's going to get picked up, though, and Zello is now the next target here. He's going to pop Dominus, and now Luan is in trouble. Dawning Shadows will get used to get that extra shield, but Saseki is now coming in. Will not be able to get the kill on to Luan, but no one's getting the Rift Herald just yet. Looks like maybe Cloud9, though, maybe biting off a little bit more than they can chew. They do get the taunt on to Meals. The Shockwave will land. The Sartridge will come through for a lot of damage. Think that hour limit. Valkyrie from the package is there, and it's a Jackie double kill. Camel is coming in, trying to be able to survive. Will be able to pick up the Rift Herald, but Jackie wants it. Blast Cone to get away will be just fine. Griff will take down everyone else. About an even game, or about an even play there.
I don't know if I would say it's even. You lose quite a bit of members there on Chonk, Chortle, and West. While they will pick up the Rift Herald, we've seen in the past how easily Cloud9 is able to shore up that weakness by keeping their pressure on this map. And the worst part of all, looks like they're going to have their hands on this dragon just as well. Black Camel to follow over the wall. He's got some extra engage, but a little bit of the shield keeps him healthy there in the face of running back to Nori. But just that alone, that moment right there just shows that even into some of these fights, it's already becoming such a major problem as these damage carries for Cloud9 have scaled to such a potential.
All right, I'll give it to you, Zephyr. It was 60-40 in favor of Cloud9. I think Chonk Turtle did at least give some pushback in that fight against the Rift Herald, and had Black Camel been able to get the dragon, it might have been 50-50 there. But Cloud9 does pick up the Cloud Drake. The consolation prize, if you are Chonk Turtle, is the fact that Black Camel did not lose his Guardian Angel in that play. He was able to get out just barely, like you were saying, so they could potentially make that into a play later on down the line. It looks like maybe something's going on here in the bottom lane. Griff is going to get a lot of damage onto him. Valkyrie is going to be used to disengage. Black Camel really low. True Shot Barrage does so much damage already, my word. And now you've got 4 members of Chonk Turtle looking to be able to survive under their tower. But will it be enough? Griff is going to be the target. He is low on mana.
Poke.
The stun is there
poke.
into the Star Surge. Oh my gosh. It's going to be the Guardian Angel to keep Black Camel alive for a little while longer. Griff will fall. And now Black Camel looking to be able to get out of this one. Meals wants the kill. He wants the feast. And he will find it, going on a killing spree.
Hilariously, he's able to throw down the Rift at the last possible second there to find what will be the break on that bottom turret in the face of dying. The thing, though, that occurred during all of this that he didn't quite have the opportunity to notice to the observer there was the fact that Zillow, the entire time splitting this midwave, finds not only the tier 2, but also the inhib turret in defense of that mid lane. A massive victory in the face of whatever kills went down there in the bot lane. They could have lost everyone. That is a huge substance to find at only 12 minutes.
I mean, again, Zello just showing us why he's one of the best. Same thing in game number 1 as in game number 2. He just controls the Baron lane and the mid lane so effectively. And he once again is able to not only help get the 2 towers in the mid lane, but also the inhibitor tower as well. It's just massive for C9, up by 11,000 at the 12.5 minute mark.
For now, though, we take a little bit of an engage towards that bot side, but maybe hold the thought there. Kill's already gone its way over. We get to take a look right back here at this replay, and this is the poke that we talk about here. And you'll have the lovely opportunity to also see Zelo, just on that mini-map there, continue his own assault before the damage comes through. For now, though, Cloud9 might be looking to end this.
Yeah, they've got the inhibitor tower down. Baron is up in 2 seconds.
Top.
Zello is in 2v1 situation. He's actually trying to be able to keep them there, and Black Camel will fall. Zello's gonna pick up the double kill off screen. Disaster for Chonk Turtle, because now Jackie is going to be able to get some damage onto the Nexus. Has to be careful, though, because of the Nexus being able to defend itself. The rest of Chonk Turtle is going to be able to get up and will be able to defend the Nexus for the time being. But the inhibitor tower will go down, and Zello, once again, keeping the pressure up, will get to the top lane tier 2 tower, and will be able to drop that with the help of his teammates. It is not looking good, if you are a Chonk Turtle fan, for them to be able to make it to the grand finals this week.
Right, and we talked about this in draft here. This composition is a struggle in terms of what they can do to pull off their own engage, but it doesn't really matter when they don't really need tools of engage. You saw what happened in that bot lane. They can sit there from afar and just run you down, okay? The damage is more than enough when you can't even make your way into the fight before it begins there. Giving them such an early lead was a problem as well. And Camel, once again, early engage, gonna go gold there. No heroic entrance. The Shockwave only finding Meals. The response though, Griff, Jackie, deep here, true shot, Mirage in the back, and it's the Demacian and Justice to find the first one. Nori now, Luan both running away. Luan's gonna find it onto Meals, but the rest of the composition has arrived. Able to find response there into Meals, but not into the face of 4.
Oh no, that is 3 members of Chonk Turtle down. Cloud9 will now go to the Nexus with 2 inhibitors down. They're feeling pretty good. Black Camel will fall, and Cloud9 has asserted their dominance. They will win game 2. They will win the series and will now face off against Immortals in Week 2's grand final matchup.
And to say I'm surprised, maybe a little bit of an understatement. I didn't expect Cloud9 to make it this far, especially after performance. But hey, we've talked about it here. They've evolved so well over the course of last week compared to this one. The presence that we now see out of both Meals and Griff alongside Tarzan has become something of an astounding force. And because of that pressure, they also enable Zillow and those side lanes. As a result, feels like an absolutely outclassed matchup here coming out of semifinals.
I mean, speaking of outclassed, Tarzan versus Black Camel. It was like Black Camel was just barely a freshman in high school while Tarzan is getting his PhD in the butt-whooping department. He's able to take a double damage advantage against a traditional jungler in the J4. Tarzan, 20,000 damage compared to J4 at 9.5k. Despite that, there's just even more outplays that Tarzan is able to get across the rift, being able to use that arcane chip to get away from the Cataclysm, being able to survive throughout a lot of those team fights just is more icing on the cake that Cloud9 is able to get. Being able to take game number 2 will now face off against Immortals in a very anticipated matchup. I'm very excited to see what they're going to be able to do. But on top of that, we also get to see the 3rd place match between Notice Legends and Chonk Turtle in a little bit as well. Oh, that'll be off stream. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So Notice Legends and Chonk Turtle will be off stream, so that information will come sometime later here. We'll be making our way over towards Cloud9 versus Immortals, but in just a moment here. For now, the desk will be going on our way towards a break as we make our way towards that lobby. Stick around and stay tuned for our final matchup of the night. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Rift Masters, and it is here and now that we bring you the grand finals of our second open qualifier. And I'll tell you what, Moose, it has come quite quickly.
It has. You know what? You're absolutely right. This is a extremely quick tournament so far. These final matches have gone so fast because the teams that have beaten them in style. Less than 15 minutes for 3 of the 4 matches that we have seen. Wow. The last match being 17 minutes. But, you know, despite the hastiness of these games, you cannot do it without a phenomenal tournament organizer and producer, and we really want to shout out RiftMaster and Tasty Bacon as well. You guys are absolutely great. You guys are cracked. But speaking of cracked, Immortals and Cloud9 making it to this 2 grand finals today. They've shown off some very ambitious compositions already, and now we get to see them face off against each other, and it's anybody's game.
Right, okay. Well, I think they've been pulling out all the stops here when we talk about either Nose Legends or Chonk Turtle. Here, I think we might see something that could be pulled, maybe a little bit more reserved here this time around. Some more respect paid towards one another. Obviously, if you guys were watching, you will know that in semifinals last time around here, Immortals did take a 2-0 victory against Cloud9. But hey, that's in the face of what was the past, all right? Cloud9, like we've discussed all today, some major improvements. Griff, Meals here, Tarzan being an absolute king in that jungle have all kind of guaranteed some level of change. Either way, you look at this draft.
I mean, speaking of change, the first time that we're going to get to see Olaf not banned out in the first banning phase, going to be the first pickup for Immortals along with that Orianna. And so the Nami pick, it does kind of feel a little bit less influential. Not going to be on Charm this time. Cloud9 is going to be picking it up. On top of that, they've also got the Renekton and the Twisted Fate. So, you know, we've seen this kind of composition a little bit before, but now you get to get it into the hands of a really strong team. Zello picking up that Renekton is going to have a lot of fun, I think, in the top lane. And Niels, who has played different champions every single game today so far, is now picking up a very global-oriented TF champion. Going to be exciting to see what he's going to be able to do with it now.
Right. We look towards some of these maybe next picks, and I was about to say it. God, they beat me to it. The Ashe is still open. The Ashe is still open, and it's a perfect pick here for Gume to find that one out in the bot lane. We've seen this one time and time again here, usually paired with, say, something like that Nami, but hey, that's already been picked up in reverse here. Either way, still can find some major success if they want to route that one forward with maybe could be that Galio or the Braum that we have seen in the past here. For now, though, they enable themselves with some really solid engage, and once those cooldowns get to the point where they're almost literally twice a team fight. We had the lovely opportunity of seeing this 2 times an Enchanted Crystal Arrow occurred in a team fight come last, I believe last night with the Immortals, right? So definitely provides a lot of support there. For now, though, we do look towards some of these bans here. Actually, you know what? Hold the thought. You said this. I do want to reiterate. We are now Zillow versus Iraqi Zoro here. And something that I don't think Chonk Turtle was able to capitalize on that I think Iraqi Zoro will be is the fact that he is so dominant on this top side here, right? Zello was never punished in any way, in any right, whether it was strong, weak, didn't matter. And any sense, Luan never really came out to shine here against him. And a lot of that was due to the support that was provided here for Zell, especially with heavy rotation from Tarzan being in such good form today. Iraqi Zoro won't let that slide. This man is a king up there. He dictates what you do, and everyone else beside him is all but a peasant here. Either way, fans out of the way. Zaya's gone. A few major supports didn't lock out the Braum, and as a result, as I said, that's going to come through pair with that Ashe to keep stabilizing the CC that they've bought for themselves.
Now we get to see what Iraqi Zoro does want to pick up in the top lane here. He does get the last counter pick. He already knows it's most likely going to be the Renekton. He's going to be up against, but he doesn't want to play his hand too early. So, you know, Immortals is, I think, giving Zoro the chance to pick up a champion that he wants to play. And, you know, to really touch on, how powerful Iraqi Zoro is. I was talking about it in the last game, how I felt, Luan and Zello feel like, they are kind of flashy playmakers. They're really, really strong in the top lane, some of the best that we have in the league. Iraqi Zoro's, I think, a little bit more subtle when it comes to his
He doesn't have
way
to be,
of
but
producing
usually.
things. Yeah, he's usually pretty subtle with it. I mean, because of how powerful Charm and Gume are, they do decide to, play towards that bottom lane a little bit more, but they are giving Zoro the chance to pick up whatever champion he wants to go for. Maybe we do get to see the Aurelia again.
Gragas.
Maybe we do get to see the Fiora. Who did you say?
Gragas.
Oh, Gragas? I mean, come on, no. We gotta have some fun with it. Game number 1. Ezreal's gonna get picked
He's
up.
on
to pair with the
Gragas duty.
Nami.
He's always on Gragas duty.
Oh man, he should just change
Never
his
to
name
escape.
Oh man.
Why wouldn't you pick it? All right. Play super well in the rank then. It's always the star shine here for him, and the setup is inevitable. So yes, the Gragas comes out once again for Iraqi Zoro, and I am more than sure that will be stable there. This time around, Cloud9, we didn't get to touch on it yet. The Ezreal does come through here. It's going to be put into the hands of Griff, so taking some notes potentially from Tarzan coming out of that last game, maybe paying some respects to the man himself who pulled it off super duper well. I don't want to scratch, though, on the fact that he is on that Lee Sin, which is one of his primary junglers that he does like to commit to here. So in terms of pick the poll that they could capitalize on, finding some of these individual targets could be huge for Cloud9, especially since they have those to work with.
I want to point something out, though. In the bans, if you go across the board, all 10 bans targeted towards the bottom lane. I don't care. If
Technically,
Grip
yes.
plays as the Corki, and we can potentially see him also play as the Ziggs, the bottom lane is getting targeted in game number 1. There was just so many open champions available the top side of the Rift and in the mid lane. And this is what we come up with. It allows for the Olaf to be open, which I think is a big wild card here for Immortals. If it plays really, really well, if it's able to, beat out a Cloud9 in the early game, it could be really, really strong. But if it doesn't get going, if it doesn't have that early game priority and that early game pressure, it could be a moot point for Immortals once we do get into that 7-8 minute mark.
I think, in my opinion, Cloud9's got to pull out all the stops. They got to carry the momentum that they found in the most recent game here against Chongchorl in the exact same fashion for this one as well. You need to have just as much pressure, and a lot of that not will only come from Tarzan here, but hopefully Meals on this Twisted Fate. I've always been a bit more iffy with the Twisted Fate pick, but it provides a lot of good information. But more importantly, hopefully some momentum for these side lanes if Meals can make that impact well known. On the other hand, Morals is really good at slowing down games, especially when you're trying to appropriate on the side here. Iraqi plays weak side incredibly well. He's never going to step up into a position where you can capitalize on him more than likely. And the bot lane is just lit up like a Christmas tree. I know we're not there quite yet, but it might as well be December.
We're getting to the point where we can do Thanksgiving lights. I mean,
Lit up like a Thanksgiving turkey.
There you go. It's not overcooked. That's for sure. It's perfectly golden brown. You are ready to make it happen. And speaking of the global presence, getting away from Thanksgiving and more to a global perspective, Gume on the Ashe, right?
Okay.
The Enchanted Crystal Arrow, right? The Enchanted Crystal Arrow is listen, you know what? It's been a great day so far, Zephyr. We gotta do whatever we want. We're doing what we want here. But speaking of Gume, speaking of the Enchanted Crystal Arrow that he provides, it's basically a global presence, because I don't think I've seen him miss an Enchanted Crystal Arrow in the time that I've seen him play here in the RiftMSTRS series so far. So, got to be careful if you are Cloud9 that could come in at any moment and mess up any sort of fight they're trying to go for. But for now, we are ready to jump into the grand finals of Qualifier 2 of the RiftMSTRS series. Cloud9 versus Immortals. Game number 1, ready to start.
Feels good to say it, doesn't it? Cloud9 versus Immortals. You guys probably don't care that much about that as much as we in Moose do. But either way, the two Titans here finally to grace our presence with our final best of 3 of the day here. And right off the bat, no surprise to see the matchup of all 5. This is something that I think is very light, but it is something that these teams have learned coming into the open qualifiers. I would say the last maybe 3 sessions we've had here. So open qualifiers 1, day 2, and day 1, as well as the first day yesterday. Usually it's just been Immortals picking up pressure in this mid lane to give them extra vision and information to play around. Most notably, you see that ward placed right there on top of what is literally Tarzan right now. Usually it's only been Immortals. Every other squad has picked this up here today. Chonk Chortle, Cloud9 here, Immortals. Not so much Nos Legends, but yeah, I mean, you can see the read there from Tarzan. He knows it too.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because it not only it pushes forward the lane in the mid lane because the minions get there first. You lose out if you play it a little bit off. You lose a little bit of the CS in the side lanes, but not usually a lot. But the big thing that it counters is invades. It makes it super difficult for any team to try to go in for your opponent's camps, because if you catch them out, you're now a 5-man death squad going up against them. There's no way that you're surviving. That's first blood in a game that moves so quickly. Extremely important.
Right. We take a look towards this top side, which is where we were supposed to see Cloud9 kind of reenact their first action to pull with here against Iraqi Zoro, but he's quick to the take to actually pull for a back on the reset there. And as a result, knowing that information, Tarzan gets a very nice pull here towards the red side of this jungle, going to clear out the majority of it. In return here, you're not going to see as much from this Olaf. Instead, potentially a dive.
That was 4 towers, 4 tower shots. Yikes! We'll try to go in for the Krugs, and we'll get some Krug gold off of it, but still losing out in that exchange. But they are still looking to try to maybe get the kill onto Who, and he's going to drop everything in the kitchen sink to be able to survive. And now Cloud9 might have overstayed.
Yeah, I was about to say a little bit too far forward, and Tarzan quickly found out. And actually, it's Gume with the secured vision there that actually sustains the kill as a result there.
Nice. Yeah, that's big. You know, you give that gold over to your bottom lane, and that's what Immortals wants. That's how you win games if you are Immortals. So nicely done, and great play from Iraqi Zoro saying, hey, you know what? I don't need this gold. I'm not going to try to take it away from you. Don't make it happen.
Well, for now here, it's the first kill for Immortals, and what was supposed to be some early pressure is now available. We talk about those major windows, most notably the Destiny. That's the one I'm looking for, especially to come out here. For now, though, C9, they might just be losing out in their own solo response, but they don't find it onto Griff, which is the most important response. And of course, there you go. There's the Destiny, there's the follow-up, and there's the kill for Meals.
Big play there by Cloud9. Meals coming in to help secure it. Griff surviving in that one is massive, because not only does he get the extra gold, but he doesn't give it over to Gume. So he's going to be able to survive. He's going to be able to get back to lane. He'll be just fine. He's actually heading towards the top side of the Rift, because Cloud9 looking to maybe go for that Rift Herald first.
Yeah, they'll find their way potentially onto it there. I don't know if they'll be able to get on it as smoothly as you might provide here with the commentary. It is technically lit up like a Thanksgiving turkey, since we're running with that one now.
Nice.
But they're still on top of this one. Rotation. My apologies. To come through there from Iraqi Zoro. But no, I think they just handshake, which is not a surprise.
Yeah, so a great read there from Cloud9. You know, they expected, or the read was that Gumi was just going to go to the bottom lane, and that means that he could potentially drop the Crystal Arrow, that he's not there, his presence is not there, so it would be a 5v4 if Cloud9 or if Immortals did want to fight for it. So instead, they're able to pick up the Rift Herald, which is arguably the better of the 2 neutral objectives pre-10 minutes. So nice play there coming in from Cloud9. Not only does it pick them up their first tower of the game, but they get to keep the Rift Herald as well.
Well, for now here, trade for trade on the tier 1s, Dragon for Rift. The only thing to expect now is seeing where Tarzan will put that one down here to keep the level of control into Cloud9's favor. But they sustain a nice early gold advantage. Maybe not enough though. I'd like to see even more. You've definitely put the gold where you want it onto your 2 major carries here down for the mid and bot lane, but I'd like for it to be less than a question. I want it to be absolute that Ezreal and Twisted Fate come out on top of this within the first 10 minutes, because at that point, then you feel secure. Giving a little bit more leeway over to Hoon and Gume is the mistake that all teams make here, feeling that you're, you know, more than responsible with enough, maybe those 1 or 2 kills that you find in the early game. That's not it. You need to be absolutely dominant here. Not to say they haven't been already, but you need to keep the pace up.
Well, you know, we're dancing. You know, we're dancing in the moonlight. Everyone's feeling warm and bright. And now
Such
we're
a
ready.
fine and natural sight.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Because we are dancing. It's like a waltz, and you've got to be able to stay controlled. And you don't want to step on anyone's toes, because if you do, you could potentially fall short and end up falling flat on your face. So Cloud9, you know, they're playing into the mid game. They want to try to get to the mid game into where, you know, the Ezreal is able to pay their taxes, the Meals is able to pay his taxes, his Rod of Ages will get some extra, a little bit of boosting towards his stats. Oh, I'm barely able to miss that one. There it is, the crocodile with some dancing feet as well.
Dancing all around this map here, and sadly, Gume maybe not as secured as you maybe had hinted at here coming in the draft, but trust me, there will be plenty of time for him to make up where it is worth. Already half down on that cooldown already for that Enchanted Crystal Arrow. That's the reason why you really source out that Ashe.
And we're just waiting. We're just like waiting for it to actually come back online, because it's automatic. You just you pop it out, and if you find someone, you find someone. If you don't, it's back online.
It's on site
45 seconds.
out here tonight, okay? These teams take a level of aggression against each other. It's on site.
Oh, it's coming out again. It's on its way, and this time it's gonna miss. It's gonna be a field goal. No one's gonna get hit by that one. The Rift Herald will land or get dropped into the bottom lane, as the Dragon is not up for a while, so not going to be able to get any objective out of that one, but the Rift Herald will drop the second tower of the game. This one, the bottom tier 1 tower going down.
So they find more priority once again. This is where you see the little lead assumed by that Rift Herald. I'm curious if he had more time to play around what was the objective. I do think it was taken at such an early rate that not quite one of the more available opportunities to work with. Either way, it's still a big success for Cloud9 and continues to funnel gold their direction. Notably, everyone on the map on good footing, except for, I would say, that bot lane. But hey, Gume isn't on such a hyperscaling carry this time around here that I'm more than scared of that Ashe yet.
He needs more cooldown reduction. More cooldown reduction so that it can be on a 10-second cooldown. Until that point, you know, Cloud9 has a chance.
Oh, it's more than available here if we look towards this next start for both Rift or Dragon here. I don't think we'll be seeing the handshake this time around. Jackie, a bit wide with the tidal wave there. Not going to be available now for this next major fight, and that could come back to bite.
You know, I get it. You know, Gragas he's a big boy. He's big boned, but you know, he's not that big. He hasn't eaten the whole Thanksgiving turkey, just, you know, the big portions of it.
Well, either way here, it's down, sitting out, will be out for the count here in this next Raider fight, but they don't want to take it either way here. Going to continue to handshake. Hopefully, haven't gotten a good take on what Yikes' position is with that Rift Herald, but I'm more than sure we'll see Cloud9 secure that one as well. Yep, the response from Immortal. So just 1 for 1 here, keeping it even.
Yeah, oh, and the Enchanted Crystal Arrow does land on to Meals, so he will not be able to get out of that one. He will inevitably fall, but the mid lane play, it's Tarzan trying to be able to get some engage coming through, but no, will not be able to continue to keep the play going.
The
it is going to be Griff, though, trying to be able to get even more than just 1 kill. Dominus is going to get paused by Zello. Will not be able to get any more kills just yet with Gume now in the area. Across the Rift, it is a 1-for-1 play.
Well, the more important thing is here is they open the middle section here of this map, and it's going to give priority to Tarzan, especially here now to find what is those flank rotations, which can be so potent here against the Immortal comp, and of course gives him the opportunity, as you just saw, to start making a little bit more of his impression in and towards this jungle. You see him steal what is that blue buff, and you know what? It's to be expected.
You have to. You have to. You can't allow anyone else to have it. No, no, no. Not the Twisted Fate. Especially not the Orianna. Not the Ashe. No, you need to have that blue buff, and you need it now.
Hey, he secures it. Stop berating. He's fine. He can do whatever he wants. He's the one who's finding success here in comparison to what we will say is Zykes. But 5-5 team fight hasn't quite come out just yet, which is kind of nice. Cloud9's doing a really good job of splitting up Immortals here, and that's giving them a whole lot of pressure on the map. For now, though, see the hard gank. Ragnarok's going to tick down here, and Griff is on rotation. Gume, though, there's the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, provides the safety necessary to make sure Yikes walks out clean. In response, Jackie, too far forward.
You know, vision is important, especially at Thanksgiving. You got to drop those lights and make sure that they're there. And he does get that vision. They don't spot it out, but he does lose his life for it. 0-2 and 3 on the Nami. For now, though, got to be worried about this mid lane. If you are Cloud9, Immortals is diverting a lot of resources towards it, along with the Rift Herald as well. So with that being said, it should be the tier 1 tower going down. Griff will try to be able to defend as much as he can, but the headbutt, maybe not even necessary, will still be used, and we'll take the first tower, the second tower, third tower. It's 3 towers of the game. There's going to be another Destiny getting used, this time by Meals. He wants to play aggressively onto Gume, but now he's going to be caught into enemy territory. We'll walk out of that one. Got to be careful, though. The bubble's going to land on it to Charm, but he'll flash away. So a lot of damage, but no one dying just yet.
Well, hey, you sustain more than just the damage. You push these guys back, which is going to open up that tier 2. A nice bubble found once again on Hood, forced to use that barrier. The follow-up might be available to Raki Zoro. This Quaggas is massive. Keeps the fight from rolling Cloud9's way, and they're able to find 3 there in the face of that push.
Call me Owen Wilson, because that was wow. And we'll be able to find some great kills there. Jackie will be able to survive, but is getting harassed by a Charm this time. I can't believe that Hoon, without a stopwatch, is able to survive that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, give credit to Raki Zoro. That's the whole reason why this one works out here. We talk about the early pressure in the poke. We didn't touch on it. Charm does a phenomenal job, and this is at the credit of that Braum being the pick. They're able to sustain so much of the damage. It actually keeps Yikes alive in the face of that poke. But here, this is where Cloud9 smells blood. They see it's low. They've got the bubble. There's a Raki Zoro, though. Massive to pull this way in, especially with that cast to blow apart this fight.
Yeah, the huge cast. It separated everyone, and he survives it as well. You know, 0-0 and 4 with the Leandries and a Bramble Vest as well. Mountain Drake is going to be alive, so either team could potentially go for it. However, despite the kills that Immortals has gotten, despite the stoppage of the bleeding that has happened, Cloud9 is still in the lead by about 3,000 gold.
Yeah. Still finding them way onto a nice little bit of a gold lead, but it slowly will continue to shift over Immortals. We talk about the turtle effect, the fact that they let these major carries scale, and they're doing just that. You still find a lot of equal stability in both Hoon and Gume on this Orianna and Ashe. And while the Ashe, I wouldn't say is explosive, that Orianna can be a real menace in some of these major team fights. And tidal wave not quite landing, but hey, it's enough pressure. It keeps the dragon in favor of Cloud9.
You know, that one was targeted towards the river, just trying to add a little bit more water. to the sea level of this river.
Hey.
Reason for it. It's important.
There was fear in the minds of Immortals there. You can't quite step into that one, and even though the wave didn't go the right direction, it was the potential, and they weren't set up across the board for that dragon as a whole. Either way, third one down. Elder Drake's the next one to contest for. Baron's still up on the map. There's a lot for them to work with.
Oh, absolutely. And the gold is stabilized. That's the big thing, is that the gold has stabilized. Cloud9 has not increased their gold lead. Yes, they do get the dragon, and it is a Cloud Elder Drake. We'll see if that is going to be like the game ending Cloud Elder Drake that we would see. But the big one is going to be Baron. Baron is alive and well. Both these teams could potentially go for it. Tarzan is going to be in trouble. Dragon's Rage will get used to try to go for the disengage. The Sonic Wave will go wide, and everyone will keep their life for the time being. True Shot Barrage not going to land on to Yikes this time. So everyone gets to continue to keep going, and we get to continue to keep this game alive and well.
Well, the Tidal Wave this time around, finding the double. Destiny to follow. They go deep here. Charm looking low, but nice response. Now Cast to throw Jackie back here on their assumed rush, but Tarzan and Meals are quick to provide the necessary damage. No, not into the face of Hoon there. The response from Immortals, it is 2 for none. Now Yikes here with the undertows, just going to keep them at bay.
Immortals really living up to their name here in game number 1 as they continue to get out scot-free. I mean, this was a big play that Cloud9 was trying to go for. Yes, they lose Jackie early on in it, but everyone was so low. Meals, he wanted that Thanksgiving feast, but instead he finds the rush on Black Friday and gets stomped away. Unfortunate there if you are Cloud9, because now you're still in the lead gold-wise, but you give so much map control over to Immortals.
Right. You only sustain that gold lead, by the way. I think this is the most important part towards your top side. And the real fact of the matter is we haven't really seen Zalo or Tarzan find a way to work with it here. The fact that you haven't stunted the growth of Gume or Hoon, they continue to absorb what is all the income that they need, is something that we've seen every team falter with, right? And it's continuing to do so here in this game as well. And like I've said many times, while Gume not as impressive on, say, something like the Ashe in terms of damage potential, is just as good as being there with the sustained Enchanted Crystal Arrow to keep the poke up, to completely stunt the growth, and then Hoon now getting to the point where you just have nothing to test. I mean, look at that, the burst. You've got the Rab, you've got the Ludens, the completed Seraph's Embrace working into the Cole Morellos. I mean, it is too much.
Too much, too hot to handle, maybe. And we'll see if they can finish the job. Because of that other team fight that they just had, they do still get control of the Rift, and the Baron could potentially be the target. Enchanted Crystal Arrow, though, going to find its mark onto Jackie, who's now going to be the target. Destiny going to be popped by Meals, but will not go in for it. True Shot Barrage will be used to just get Meals back up into the top lane, but now a 4v5 situation. The Elder Cloud Drake is live in 10.
All right, 10 seconds away here. Don't have the support for 40. Easy quick pull trigger here for the side of Immortals. Araki does have that teleport available if he wants to make his way back down towards this Drake. Need be here, but he has to respond up towards Meals, who notably does not have Destiny available here. So I don't think, no, there's the rotation, so he should be making his way back down once he clears his wave. Yep, there he goes.
Yep, teleport is now active. The cask is ready. Zello is going to be cut off from the rest of his team. Dominus is ready to go. Meals, now the target. Ragnarok is going to get used, and now he's going to be unstoppable, trying to be able to get Meals and a beautiful cask. Meals will fall. Griff will use Arcane Shift to be able to get away. Tarzan has to disengage as well. So Zello still alive, but now without Dominus. Gume is just about to get his Enchanted Crystal up once again and could potentially use it to stop any potential engage from Tarzan or Zello in this fight. Sonic Wave will land onto the Dragon, but it's not going to be there. The arrow going to land on a Tarzan, and now the fight is going to continue. A beautiful glacial fissure as Hoon goes unstoppable and will go in for the flash into a double kill. Is now dominating, wants a third, and does get it.
Could find
four. To Grift. He wants the quadra kill. Zello is the target. Does he get the quadra kill? The answer is yes, as he's able to pick it up. A legendary Orianna. Immortals picks up the Dragon, and that just might be the game-ending team fight.
Right, and also in the phase last fight was a phenomenal shockwave to find two there here for what was Hoon. A little bit more on the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but I don't think it even matters here. Game one, Immortals, even in the face of what was maybe a dicey early game, still find their way to victory.
Oh, man. I mean, that was, I think, as good as you're going to get it out of Cloud9 in the early game. Yes, not as good as you're going to get it, but, a solid 8.5 out of 10 early game for Cloud9. Got what they needed to, got off the ground running. They had the gold lead. They had the momentum, but the kills kept on piling up. And Hoon showing off in game number 1, 17,000 gold, 9-0 and 5. 33,000 damage is more than Tarzan, Griff combined, or about Tarzan and Griff combined. Massive play here for Immortals as they take game 1.
And I was more than impressed. This is what I talked about. Yeah, Gume is on the Ashe, still performing well, but it's really Hoon out here. We talk about the absurd pressure built from this Orion in terms of controlling these team fights as the game state continues to move forward, and it was performed in such a way here. But this continues to bring up the major question that all teams need to realize. How do you shut down these carries here? Gume and what was Hoon looked super well, even in the face of what you considered an 8.5 out of 10 early game here for Cloud9. Now, I think that I can agree with maybe for the first 3 minutes. After that point on, we start drifting down from 8.5 to 7.65. It didn't look like they were really capitalizing on any amount of that lead to put Gume and Hoon in their place. If you don't do that, the game will be over. They drop for mid-late here.
Listen, it's an 8.5 early game, not an 8.5 magnitude earthquake, Zephyr. Get it together. My goodness. But I want to touch
emotional.
on. I get it. It's an emotional game. It's grand finals. There's a lot of money that's on the line for this team, and the points to be able to get into the playoff picture are there as well. So you want to be able to win this one, and you want to be able to take it easy. You want to be able to not only take it easily, but you want to be able to take it handedly. You don't want there to be any doubt in your mind. But you talked about it in the early game that Cloud9 had. You wanted the gold to funnel onto Griff and onto Meals, and it didn't necessarily happen that way because Tarzan got gold. You had Zello get gold. It was a group effort, but the carries weren't able to get to the point where they could carry the game.
Yeah, I would go on a limb and say there was some subtle early gold sustained here for both Griff there and Meals, but it wasn't to the point that was... You go two directions. You either assume so much gold that even with Gume's new scaling, they can't contest against it, or you go, say, something more average, but you prevent Gume and Hoon from getting that. I came from the prevent route. They more so maybe were looking to kind of bolster their lead, which we didn't particularly see either here. I will say the other lanes across, though, you had both what was Zello v Iraqi Zor on that top side, and I'm telling you, man, that Gragas, it is a problem. And you were almost saying, you know what, throw some more fun into the mix here. Give us a little bit of that Irelia, some more control here. Unnecessary. Not particularly option I even want to see there here. I know some may be looking for the ban, but I don't even think that's available.
I mean, bans. 10 bans on the bottom lane in game number 1. Every single champion could have gone to the bottom lane, and it didn't matter. Gume and Charm were still able to find Ashe and Braum out of that. I can't believe that they were able to find that in game number 1. That just means that they are now 1 up in this best of 3 series. 1 more win, and they take the game, and they take the series. Now, you touched on something a little bit earlier that I want to talk about it again. The Gume Hoon problem. It is a problem. It is a big problem.
We'll reiterate.
And
1,000th time in a row. Let's go again.
Yeah, let's go again. I don't know if preventing Gume and Hoon is the issue. I feel like that's more of a play to lose, playing to not to lose scenario rather than a play to win. You've got to have an ability to counter that with something on your side of the rift. You've got to be able to pick something up that whatever Gume and Hoon try to go for, you're going to be able to have that pressure and that advantage there. And I don't think that the Ezreal Twist of Fate was not the answer. I think you need to go all in on something.
Are you saying like Draven Akali? Something like
Turtle?
No.
Absolutely. Come on. You got to do it. You gotta play to win. Play to win, otherwise you're going to lose.
I don't know if I see that level of dominance out of C9. It would be incredible. That'd be super rad, and that would maybe potentially give them the win they need over Immortals here. But maybe my perspective is, if you can't find the major success that you want here out of both your bot and mid, and you did run it even, maybe put more responsibility back on Tarzan there. We saw his level of control and pacing when he was on, say, something more damage oriented. I don't think the Lee Sin was particularly bad, but it didn't really set up or get the job done in a way that I wanted, or to provide as much impact as warranted here for the Cloud9 team. You know, if you're going to go balls to the walls there with the bot and mid, I say jungle. I say get it done. Tarzan's the main lead for a reason here. He can put all of his team on his back, or at least find a resounding lead in that jungle that could work out there.
Oh, and so that is an option. That is the option, and we were talking about that in the Cloud9 Junk Turtle game. Is, you know, how powerful Tarzan is, how powerful that Zello can be in the top lane as well. Did we get to see that in game number 1? No, we did not. So that might be the switch up necessary for this Cloud9 squad to be able to win game number 2 and get this into a game 3 situation. Now, if Cloud9 does take this win, we do get to a best of 3 situation. It will be only the second game in the entire split so far that Immortals will have lost. The first one being that Sentinels game in the quarterfinals earlier this week. So there is an option. There are chinks in Immortals armor that could potentially be exploited. But with how well Immortals were able to navigate the early game and be able to take game number 1, things are definitely, you know, looking really good for them to be able to take this into a 2-0 series and to win this qualifier too. We'll just have to see how it plays out, because we should be getting into the draft here fairly shortly.
Yeah. I will say, if you want to touch on maybe that loss here real quick, or my apologies, I'll touch on it because I have the lovely opportunity of seeing it more directly here. The two big things that kind of capitalized and found Immortals' way towards their defeat there was nothing changed in terms of Immortals' presence. They still had Gume and Hoon scaling up to this absurd potential. You had Iraqi playing weak side here. There was a big question in terms of the level of their engage, especially into the face of a very, very controlling comp. There is a reason that we have seen Ziggs banned out here from Immortals, I think quite literally every game almost since the last time they played. I'd have to check. I'm not going to go there with full certainty, but it provided such a pacing that allowed for what was Sentinels to get to the point where they were actually able to become this monstrous entity in terms of poke and damage. I mean, we talk about the Mega Inferno bombs that came through, not just in terms of these team fights, but to clear out some of these waves. So maybe a super hyper scaler, something that has good wave potential here. Immortals are remarkably well at baiting a team in and then capitalizing off those one-on picks there. We saw Jackie fall prey to this big time last game. That Nami was down and out so many times there that I didn't even know whose team he was playing for.
Yeah, the Nami didn't feel like that was the right pickup, but I mean, when you are playing against Cloud9, and especially playing against Jackie, you do want to take away that Thresh, because I think Jackie, one of the best, if not the best. That's been a problem in Wild Rift, so you have to be able to take care of that if you go about it. That is one of the bans that you do take care of. I don't know if, like, I don't think that it's necessarily like a bad thing if you do get the opportunity to play Nami again. I think you give Jackie the Nami once more, but there are other picks that you could potentially go for. I would like to see different picks get picked up potentially here in game number 2, but, you know, I don't know what Cloud9 is thinking and how they're going to be able to adjust it going into game 2.
I will say I'm okay with Jackie back on the Nami. It's not per se my description looking at the champions, more specifically at the way it was performed in terms of how it was approached in terms of each of the setup prior to major objectives or coming into what would be a team fight anywhere, right? You know, I know Cloud9's trying to assert what is a level of control in terms of information when it comes to, say, vision, the thing that obviously we see Jackie playing for there. But there was a level of maybe a bit too far forward of a foot there from, say, Jackie. I'm not gonna say it was a Nami issue per se, more of the kind of take on the player.
You're right. You're right. You that. I'll retract a little bit there. It was. Had it been Thresh, had it been Braum, had it been anyone in that situation, they would have died. It would have died.
Pretty much.
They would have been gone, and it would have not been a different scenario there. So, yes, that is something that Cloud9 is going to have to work on, because vision is important. It is going to be something that they do need to have, because you don't want to, you want to be able to get that situation ready to go. But you know what? As important vision is, it's making sure that Gume and Hoon do not get gold. That is more important on the side of Cloud9. So now, as we jump into game number 2, Cloud9 gonna have to find some different ways to be able to get them into a game 3 situation. Gonna be banning out some supports once more. Rakan and Senna coming through.
Right, so taking some presence here out of Charm, taking away what might be enabling Gume here, that could give them from some perspective here. Charm still has the available options, being that Braum we saw, the Galio is still up, and that has performed remarkably well for them in the bot lane time and time again there. The Nami, of course, being alive. We'll have to see what Cloud9 goes for the first pick, but there is a lot of 80 carries still really left up on the board here. We talk about Ashe being a big one that's still down and out, as well as some of the other hyper scalings, or maybe even say something like the Lucian that we got the lovely opportunity seeing played here by Grift.
Yeah, so Jackie is going to be playing as that Nami once more, but that does leave the Ashe on the table for Gume to play and show us off why he's so good at it. You said Galio, you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking... if I'm picking, I'm more interested in the support matchup here. I think there's a lot open for 80 carries.
Right.
I think a lot of the strength that comes out of this bot lane is what Charm can sustain, because usually we aren't seeing the hard aggression come out of Gume till later here. Either way, Immortals, they liked what they saw last time around in terms of putting Nikes on that Olaf, and I will say it provided. Maybe it wasn't as direct as you want it in terms of laning, but that's not what they play for. Team fights are the name of the game here.
Yeah, and so they're picking up another strong jungler. It's going to work. It worked well in game number 1, but Cloud9 now has the vision to see how it played out and how they want to be able to draft it differently, because it is fairly similar to game number 1 in terms of the early game draft. We could potentially now see a J4 out of Charzand. The Orianna going to get picked up again for a Hoon. I mean, it was flawless in game 1.
Amazing.
Why not? Yeah,
it works, and I don't see a particularly direct counter. You could take it super aggressive here. We can go back to the point you made very early on, put both the mid lane bot into a place where they can absolutely find the most absurd of early leads by giving them hyper assassins or just really intense damage. Now, this is something that wasn't banned out. I'm surprised I didn't even notice it. Ziggs is secured here for Cloud9. This was the pick that stunted the growth in the finishing ability here of Immortals. And something to note is that while Olaf is good here, it doesn't have the level of engage or more potent hard CC that you would need to start something off. Now, it is a ball delivery device, which is great to see when you pair it with Hoon on R, so maybe I'm completely wrong, but I will say if Cloud9 is able to kind of level the game out for quite some time there, maybe Ziggs can come back into us similar to how we saw Sentinels beat Immortals very early on. But I know you're happy seeing the 4, or not quite the 4th pick, but I hope it was.
Well, the Jhin is going to be something new, so something fun. Very excited to see what Gume is going to be able to play on what can be a hyper carry champion for Immortals, along with that Orianna. Renekton getting picked up by Cloud9 in the B3 spot. I don't know if I would have gone for that personally. I think that there were other options that Zello could have gone for, and they could have kept it until the second phase of the pick bans. So a little bit of an interesting play there. I would have maybe chosen your jungler now, so you could pick up that J4 that they banned out, be able to really stunt what power the Olaf can have, but instead they will pick up the Renekton. Leona's going to get banned out away from Charm. However, there are still other options available for him. The Xin Zhao and the Jarvan going to be picked up against Immortals. Tarzan going to be pinched a little bit here in game number 2.
Lee Sin. He likes the Riven here if they want to go for more of the aggressive style we saw here against Chonk Turtle here, but they don't have a really sustained pace in terms of how they engage into these fights, so that's still a major question that needs to be answered. I like this from Cloud9 though. They do respond with that being the Galio ban here coming out. So level the amount of aggression here that you can see. All hard engage supports are gone from what could be Immortals here. You still have a lot of the safe ones. We talk about Janna, Braum. These have come through for Charm many times over here. But in terms of the early pressure that we expect out of Gume, not going to have complete access, even though his damage might be ready and willing.
Well, Iraqi Zoro gets to play Gragas again, so, you know.
It works.
I get it. I understand
It's
that
fantastic.
it works. I understand that it works. And Cloud9 give it to them, too. Like, Cloud9, once again, not taking away Iraqi Zoro's Gragas, going to allow it to be played into the Renekton, so the Renekton pick is now mooted even more. Now we can see what Chom gets pick up in his last one. No, we're gonna see a Garen support once again. Why not? It'll be fun.
I don't know if I'm putting Charm there on the Garen. I think he likes to have some level of control which way or another. This, I'm pretty sure, is going to be granting us once again potentially Tarzan jungle. Ziggs can still find his way in the mid lane if they want to throw that back down there on Griff here for that Ezreal. I don't think it looked particularly bad when they switched that one up, but hey, I still have the super hope meta of Tarzan being back on that Ezreal. It was definitely more than fun to watch.
I don't know if you do it here in this game because it did take
I don't think you do, but I still want it.
You know, we get it. We get it.
Yeah!
We get it. You know, Ezreal has some problems in the very early game, but he does have the opportunity to really be powerful and slippery once you do get into the mid/early-ish game. And now with the Lucian getting pulled out as well, going up against or playing with the Akali now for Immortals, we do get a little bit of fun here in game number 2. Very excited to see what this Ezreal is going to bring to the table. Now that most likely means that Cloud9 is going to be putting Meals onto the Ziggs, and then it's going to be Griff on the Lucian. But, I mean, if you want to have some fun with it, you could put the Lucian in the mid lane, play against the Akali.
No.
It'll be fun. It'll be great.
I do not care. Either way, all I need to see is Tarzan here enact his vengeance now with the Ezreal on his belt. This does bring up the major problem, though, of this composition here. Your only source of heavy engage will be either sustained out from a quick swipe from that Renekton, or the most perfect of bubble or tidal wave from that Nami. And that was a huge issue come last game. Jackie definitely not being in the best of conditions in that game 1 there. Didn't really support what was most of those starts there for the Cloud9 roster, but I won't count him out. He can definitely pull through this time around here. But it still is a problem when you don't have such a direct level of engage. But hey, Cloud9 didn't have that level of engage against Chortle, and they still were able to find their victory by just having such an absurd amount of poke and sustained damage here, okay?
Oh, I'm so nervous. I'm really nervous for Cloud9 right now because Charm gets to play as the Orianna. That is a really strong champion, and now playing with someone that's super technical like Charm, going to be able to get those shockwaves to be able to set up for massive damage and kills for the Immortals squad, because Hoon is now going to be playing as that hypercarry Akali, and with 4 squishy members on Cloud9, should be able to dodge the bubbles, dodge the mystic shots, dodge the culling, and just, you know, have a really strong game number 2 to close out this series. But they've got to get going. They've got to be able to make sure that the Akali does get to that point where he can actually perform. And even then, if Akali doesn't perform, you still have the Jhin, and you still have Iraqi Zoro on the Gragas. So I think Immortals has drafted a really strong composition that Cloud9 is now rolling the dice against. Will they be able to take this to a Game 3 situation? It's going to be a tough one, but it is possible.
I mean, you said it yourself here coming out of that first game. One of the 3 options that we painted here for Cloud9 is the fact that you could just try to ramp it as hard as possible through that early game. The nice thing that they have available here, which is what led Sentinels to their victory, is the fact that Ziggs can stall out these games very nicely here, but you have to be careful. That Akali pick is going to be very crucial in getting into that backline, especially taking care of what will be Meals there on that Ziggs. So if that's down and out, you don't really actually have the potential to stall there. So I'm hoping, while yes, we do see a ramped pace here from Cloud9, we also see the level of respect paid if it doesn't go their way. right? If they
Right.
don't find that early game control there, we need to see them really shore up those early weaknesses and then just slap the game. Just stop it in its tracks, right? Because they have scaling Ezreal potential with the major poke, as well as the Ziggs becoming just a huge problem.
I just don't know how well they're going to be able to turtle. I don't know if the Ziggs has enough clear to be able to make sure that they can keep the lanes intact long enough for them to be able to get to that point. But it's a chance for Meals to show us what he's got. And for Cloud9 as a team, in the immortal words of Captain Falcon, to show us their moves. Let's get into game number 2. We got Charm on the Gragas and Araki Zoro picking up that Akali in the top lane.
So putting some star potential here on Araki Zoro. If there's anyone who can do it, it is definitely Araki up here in this top lane. Not quite what we were particularly expecting or setting up in draft, but this can work just as well here. You give so much presence over to Hoon to scale up in that mid lane with the Orianna being back in his foot here. But now this top side, more of a question here. Zillow can really stunt this Akali if he puts himself on the right foot forward.
Right foot forward indeed. He can't. He doesn't want to fall flat on his face. That's for sure. That would be not good. So we'll see what they do with that one. Griff though going to be playing as the Lucian. Going to have a decent time because he does get the Anami with some support. Going to be able to get some healing, some extra little bit of poke damage with the extra auto attack damage that they get. A Charm, however, again, another playmaking support champion, going to be able to use that potentially effectively. Meals, though, getting some damage onto Hoon. Not going to be able to get the kill, but at least the harassment is there.
Well, for now here, it's a definitely set of control found, but it's really just matched across the board. Immortal's still playing off the level of early information, but this time around, Cloud is able to actually find it in their own right here. The big question being that Ezreal not having the impact to gank is going to be something on my mind here for the next 4 minutes or so, but after that, hopefully the damage will be in place, especially if he's countering out. Well, don't say, oh no, Yikes is just as quick in his own right to horizontal this one out here, and he's going to actually steal what I believe is that blue buff, so technically coming out on top.
Yeah, that's the oh no there, and Gume is trying to make it an OES, and he does. Gets first blood to Charm here for game number 2. Griff and Tarzan now looking to make it a 1-for-1, maybe a 2-for-2 situation here as Griff is low. He's going to flash away. Charm! Oh my goodness, beautiful play by Meals.
Not quite a gank, but if you can clean up to pull off what is, well, my apologies there. If you can come in to clean that one up there, Tarzan is more than happy to pick up that stride. And this is exactly, like, quite literally the same start we saw for Cloud9's success against Chonk Chortle in their more aggressive game here. So now sitting 2-0 up here, a little bit more pacing put into the hands of Tarzan. Still not quite in what I would say gankable potential, but plenty to fear.
Oh, big that he was able to get those first 2 kills for Cloud9. It means that he is going to be able to pick up the pace a little bit earlier. Jackie, though, going to be in trouble. Ragnarok is used. The Mega Inferno Bomb. The bubble will land on Ahun, but will not die. As we do get the curtain call.
Good cast.
A beautiful cast. Coling is going to come out. Everyone is low. Griff is trying to get kills. He'll pick up 1, but cannot do any more. Zello is in the area, going to try to go for the flash. He's going to get 1. He's going to get 2. The Dominus is out. It's a double kill. Gume and Zoro now in trouble. Dominus will expire, and everyone else will walk away. Cloud9 still a kill in the lead.
They might be a kill in the lead there, but the more important thing is where they sustain a majority of those kills. Surprisingly, this time around, it's Zelo, my apologies, coming out far and above on top there. Great rotation into that backline after the major success that Immortals did find in their own right there. Hopefully this time around, especially since Rakizor isn't middling with a weak side pick, he'll actually be able to keep that pressure on board, not just in team fights, but around the map as a whole. For now, though, C9 with another engage straight onto Charm there. Ain't able to find the bubble, but it's Grip over the wall there. The last auto doesn't quite tick, and Charm's going to have to still walk away, but Hoon wants this.
Yeah, Hoon does have Shockwave ready to go. If he lands it on the multiple members, it could be massive for Immortals if they do decide to go for it. So they are respecting that, so they will not go for the dragon just yet. Now that gives time for Zoro to get to the mid lane and now to the river. This is going to be a traditional 5v5. True Shot Barrage is ready. Meals is going to use his Mega Inferno Bomb early. Zoro is going to be there, going to try to get some damage onto Tarzan. He's going to walk away with the safeguard and will be able to pick up the kill against Zoro. It is a 1-for-1 with Yikes being able to get that kill. 900 damage. It's going to be Cloud9 picking up the dragon, however. Everyone is low on the side of Immortals, and the curtain call is going to go in onto the very low damage and health bars on Cloud9, who will be able to dodge those curtain balls. If you can dodge curtain ball, you can curtain call, you can dodge a ball, or something like that. I don't know.
All right. Either way there, it's a bit of a shame. While they do find the one response, they don't secure the dragon there, especially since we also saw Iraqi Zoro fall as well. So technically, Cloud9 still managing to keep up the pacing there. They aren't in the major lead yet that I would want for them to super close out this game, but remember, they still have multiple win conditions available. And for the next 5 minutes or so, they can still grow and put what is both Griff and Meals in a place where they'll be disgusting at that 10-minute mark. But even if that doesn't come to full fruition, dude, just wait for Meals. Meals will become a problem.
Meals will become a problem, and right now the problem that is played is that Jackie is able to take on Gumi and takes that kill. Mega Inferno Bomb is there, and Iraqi Zoro will fall. The Rift Herald is going to go to the side of Immortals. Charm not going to be able to get away from that one, so Immortals going to lose 3, but pick up the Rift Herald.
This is probably one of the more sloppy starts I have seen here for Immortals. Unable to find the dragon, and in the face of picking up that rift, they do drop 3 here. So continuing to bolster a bit of the leads found for Cloud9. This is exactly what the Cloud9 roster want. Now, though, response here on the top side. Yikes, he's taken War too low there. Just able, no, unable to survive, but that is going to easily be punished there.
Oh man, that is big for Immortals because they get the shutdown onto Tarzan, and all the gold, the double kill gold, goes to Iraqi Zoro on this Akali. Picks up the early Oblivion Orb as well to counter the Nami and the Renekton healing, and will now be able to go back and pick up a massive build growth for Immortals to be able to continue to keep going. That is big that Cloud9 just gave over to their opponents.
Well, for now here, you start splitting this team fight up here. Zoro in these further engagements should be able to find his way, or hopefully what we are looking for is Zoro to find his way into the backline and destroy what would be either Tarzan, Griff, or Meals before it starts here. Hopefully Meals. But more importantly, this gives some time back over to Immortals, which is the worst part of all. You let them sustain for a bit longer there, but not like that.
Oh, that is disaster. Immortals does lose that tower in the bottom lane. That's first tower damage, or first tower break over to Tarzan, but Iraqi Zoro is able to make it a 1-for-1 with Zello falling, and they're able to drop the Rift Herald in the mid lane, picking up the second tower. Now all what? Oh, pardon me. No, it's just 1 tower for 1 tower out of that extended play.
Right. You do secure what is the opening for that mid, which I think is very huge in terms of the extended fights, giving potential flank over towards Immortals, which might be something we'll have to readjust at a later time. For now, though, they were more than able to shore up something more equivalent there, and now they look for additional kills.
Oh, no.
Good cast, pulls them back out. Current call in, but Zello there trying to capitalize. Hoon looking low, and it's going to be the Mega Inferno as well as the final auto from Jackie to break down Hoon.
Nicely done. You know, Cloud9 able to survive, and especially Jackie being able to get out of that one. That is good, but Charm is now in the area. Meals is the target here. Perfect execution. Going to be able to get Iraqi Zoro that kill onto Meals. Slows down Cloud9 a little bit further, and Zoro picking up more gold and more pressure here in this in this meta game.
There you go. Iraqi Zoro here on this Akali. We had our questions to begin with, but many a times over, Zoro has continued to prove me wrong. Literally, I get to see it at the end of every single broadcast once this man tweets. Either way, the Akali's starting to shore up some of those major weaknesses, but hopefully it will do so for this team fight as well there. Further engaged, Hoon down and out already, unable to find what they need with the Ragnarok there from Yikes, without any kills to bolster, the heal coming through there. Should be able to take advantage of this dragon.
Wow.
Griff down.
big play there once again. Zoro finding another kill, making it a 4-4-4 play, and Charm wants to go for it. He's going to be able to dodge it, but it will be Tarzan being able to pick up the dragon. Gume is extremely low. Zoro able to barely get out of that one. Gume also low as well. Cloud9 picks up the dragon and pick up a kill onto Charm.
I mean, I can respect a response there from Immortals trying to contest that second Drake there, but they still couldn't even find a kill to boot there. A lot of it being with the damage, but maybe Hoon being alive here. The Ragnarok already being back up and available is going to secure that one right to keep the damage rolling here, but Griff's going to respond in his own right. Remember, no longer has Rag available, and now the culling coming through, just barely unable. A nice shield from Hoon to keep Yikes alive.
Nice footwork there. Nice strafe as well. Yikes will be able to not give Griff more damage, more kills, and will make it an even game in terms of gold and in terms of kills pretty much. With Immortals a little bit in the lead, about 600 gold or so at this point. Rift Herald is up. So both teams could potentially try to go for that one. Zello in the bottom lane and be able to clear that one out. So now, if you're Cloud9, I mean, this is still a very even game. And Immortals, I mean, they've got to be worried about the ticking time bomb that they do have to play up against. And that is Meals here on the Ziggs.
Right, and he's getting to the point now where the cooldown's low enough that he can start expending that Mega Inferno Bomb, not for the major team fights, but also to stunt some of the wave if it goes in the favor of Immortals. For now, though, they look for this Rift, and Cloud9's ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah, gotta be careful, though. Immortals, Tidal Wave is going to get used, but Ragnarok is going to come in. Tarzan's going to be able to pick up the Rift Herald, but now trying to be able to get some plays out of the fight. Curtain Call is going to get no damage just yet. Yikes will fall. Does actually pick up that last hit onto Griff. He's extremely low and will not be able to stay into the fight. Zoro is late to the party because of Zello being able to use that teleport. So, Cloud9, once again, coming out on top in that fight.
That's going to bite there, and the fact of the matter is, even in the face of what looked to be Immortals' take on the Rift, it was secured there for Tarzan sliding in that last moment there, so they lose the one as well as Rift. So still, major objectives continuing to slide over to Cloud9, and if you're Iraqi Zor, it's got to feel bad there. You have definitely the carry potential to clean up that fight, just not quite the timing or positioning.
Yeah, it doesn't have teleport, so you can't be there. It does have, I mean, obviously, I think stopwatch. Yeah, stopwatch is important. Like, you can't not have it. So I'm not mad that he didn't get it. But you know what? In that situation, he should have had teleport. He might have been there. And now, Jackie, he's going to be okay this time. Maybe. Yeah, it'll be okay.
For now here, Griff, though, dodges out a bit of that stun, and now we get to see Immortals. This is when they start grouping up, pushing out the majority of these waves here. But like I said earlier, can quickly be stunted by C9's comp at any given point here. And in fact, they're going to take it and run with their clear and slam down that Rift as well to secure turret.
So we'll see how much they do get with it. Remember, there is a lot of clear power that Meals does provide on that Ziggs. The bubble's going to land on to Hoon. So Hoon goes down, gets caught out of that situation. Zoro wants the kills and will pick up one. And now Ragnarok's going to get used. Jackie will be the next target, and he will fall. Sterak's going to be able to get the shield so that Yikes is able to survive a little while longer. And they will be able to take the kill onto Griff as well.
They're still up.
But Yikes, trying to be able to get out of this one, will not be able to. Meals and Zello will be able to make it a 3-for-3 play.
You gotta give big credit to Meals there. That Mega Inferno Bomb there, especially in the face of Gume, really prevents the hard follow-up there. And as a result, Gume, of course, he's immobile. I mean, we can give a little bit of the context with the passive speed built from the gym, but in all of a sense here, if Zayla wants to turn right back around there on this Renekton and go straight for Gume, they will quickly delete this man. So the fact that that damage came through to prevent him from walking forward and actually finding what he needed in terms of kind of shoring up the weakness of Immortals there was massive.
And so now the big play is whether or not Immortals wants to go for this dragon. The last two dragon fights have ended with Cloud9 being able to pick them up. So Immortals needing to play careful. I think they're recognizing the issue here. And so they will decide to go back. The bubble's going to land on a charm. Tidal Wave's going to come through, but no one's going, or I guess charm does get hit by it, but no one's going to take the dragon just yet, and instead, Cloud9 looking to go for a play into the mid lane, pushing forward that damage once again, using Meals as that play. Curtain Call A lot of damage onto Tarzan, but not going to be enough. Zoro is in the
Tarzan.
area. Wants to try to find something here,
Oh,
and they
they
do
got him.
find it onto Meals. That is big for Immortals, and now Grip will fall as well. Zello's trying to do what he can and will be able to get the kill onto Gume. Zoro is now extremely low, trying to be able to get something onto Tarzan.
Oh.
Will not be able to do so. However, Zello
down.
will go down. GA is getting popped, but Zello trying to be able to do what he can. Will not be able to get any further kills. So it is a 3-for-2 play in favor of Immortals, and going immediately towards the Dragon.
And immediately there, Tarzan right off of his camps. You saw how low he was, quickly able to heal up as well there from the side with Jackie. But hey, job's done. Immortal comes out of that team fight, and they do exactly what they needed to. Big props to both Zoro, but also Charm for finding such a cast to throw Meals out of position. They thought it was going to go awry, seeing as far deep as Zoro was, but to pull that one back into it, Charm gave them the potential to wreck this Ziggs before he had the option to fight back.
Yeah, and looking at the gold, I mean, Meals has the fourth, or some of the lowest gold on the team right now. 10,000 gold with 12,000 on both Zello and Tarzan. He still needs some time to be able to really be super formidable. He does have ability. He does have, the Rod of Ages and the Leandries, but not quite there yet. Still needs a little bit more time before he's really going to be super effective against everybody. So there is still a chance that Immortals can still pull this one out, but time is still not on their side.
And I will give credit where credit is due there. The Cloud9's been doing a great job, especially capitalizing and putting Hoon in his place, but not quite where they need to in terms of gold here, which has been the major punishment that comes back to bite when anyone plays against Immortals. I say, we're going to reiterate that one more time. But it is definitely major here. I will say, Hoon has been out of position so much this game, and it's actually bolstered a lot of the effect Cloud9 shouldn't have had in that early game, and has put him at such a deficit, sitting at 2 and 4 here. Either way, though, continues to assume a majority of that gold, and will most likely complete that Rabadon very soon here, putting himself on that 4-item spike.
Oh, Gume gonna get hit by the bubble, but no follow-up damage just yet. Tarzan trying to get some damage onto Yikes as well. Ragnarok is gonna get used, and now Stays is gonna come in. The cast is gonna be there, but there's no follow-up. The shockwave, however, is there, and Araki Zoro is trying to come in to be able to get the kills and the damage. That is a double kill for Zoro, but does he get out of that one? He's gonna go golden. Charm is coming in. He's trying to be able to keep him alive. They all survive for the time being. And Zello is able to try to make something happen, but cannot do it. Immortals takes down all 5. I can't believe it.
And when you have so many carries on the board, the focus is so hard to figure out there. You see Zoro go in deep to find 2 right off the get-go, and when things were looking bad from the sustained damage from Zelo, so quickly does Gume walk up, take position with this Jin, and finish the fight for his squad. And I think with 10 seconds on the board here, all Immortals have to do is walk this one forward, find their victory, and find a win here at the grand finals.
Oh, Araki Zoro. He must have heard me when I didn't talk about him as one of the best top laners in Wild Rift. I stand corrected. He has shown me why he is one of the best. I tip my hat. I bow down to the king. Congratulations to Immortals. They take game number 2. Well, it wasn't the easiest game. It was definitely messy. They still clean it up. They get the big team fight, and they finish the job. Congratulations to them. That is a first-place victory in Open Qualifier 2. It is now 2 in a row for the squad.
Yeah. Once again here, Immortals finding that victory in Open Qualifier number 2. And I would assume now sitting with, I believe it's 30 points, I think they're more and well confirmed to make their way over towards our finals here. There's still one more Open Qualifier left, but with those standings that we'll check out later, I'm pretty sure the job is done. For now, though, the game at hand here, Araki Zoro put him on a star champion, and he still manages to pop up, coming off the beginning of that game, finding the cleanup that he needed to continue to accelerate this. Akali was crucial. We saw in 2 fights there how its impact was able to drive the force that was Immortals, even in the face of some major losses, we say, in that mid lane for Hoon.
Yeah, I am not worthy. I am not worthy. Immortals, my goodness, that was such a game too. I mean, they were behind the 8 ball for a little while there. Cloud9 was feeling pretty good. They had some great dragon fights. I thought Zello played really well as the Renekton, but really Tarzan once again pulling out the Ezreal and showing us that Ezreal can perform well in the jungle and do really, really well, especially in the hands of Tarzan. And beyond that, Griff and Jackie, they held their own in that bottom lane against Gume and Charm today. So it was something that Immortals really had to focus in. They really had to make something happen, and they were able to finish the job. But you couldn't have done it without Iraqi Zoro. You couldn't have made it happen because he was the one that was able to get to the backline, was able to just really put in that power and that damage to be able to get to that point. Right. So congratulations to Immortals. Really solid performance. First place victory once again. That is a big chunk of change as well for them as well.
Right, and they continue to assume all of that for themselves. But let's take a look here at that final bracket just one more time here as we finish off the day. As you can see there, Immortals, they find their way on to victory once again. You can see their third place match still going on here. We do have that update. Chunk Turtle finding their own wins, even though they weren't able to make it all the way to the final. So who's know? Here's hoping maybe they'll find their way into a nice third place there, which is definitely adequate. They did perform and come in second out of open qualifier number 1 there. I gotta say, big props to Cloud9 though. They were able to evolve, continue to grow here after seeing this performance compared to the first time they went up against Immortals in the semifinals last time around. It looked much better. It looked like they actually kept Immortals on their toes here. I think that comp definitely faltered from some of the major weaknesses in terms of pick potential, especially in the face of Iraqi Zoro. But hey, this is a lot better than a lot of the teams that played off against them.
And there's still room for improvement as well. And that's the big thing. It's not like this isn't like the ceiling for Cloud9. This is only the beginning of what they can do. And the fact that they have been able to continue to get things going, it's really, really cool to see. And I'm very excited to find out whether or not they're going to be able to find a win, maybe in Open Qualifier 3 or maybe in the playoffs as well. But, you know, speaking of playoffs, we got to talk about the standings right now because Immortals did pick up the lion's share of points. They are now up to first place at 30 right now. That is big. That should be able to confirm them most likely a playoff spot. But Cloud9 and Chonk Turtle, they are not far behind. And if Chonk Turtle is able to win this one against Notice Legends, they will be at pretty much the same spot, if not above Cloud9.
Right. If Chonk Turtle comes out on top of this one, they assume an additional 2 points, I believe. So they'll sit 22-22, evening that one up against Cloud9 there, which makes a whole lot of sense given that if they both play in second and third, two matches in a row, one switching for the other, they should have, of course, the same points. I mean, that's obvious there. Either way, it's some great level of performance, and we begin to see the ends here spelled out as we start to approach our finals here at Rift Masters. And I couldn't be more happy. Mortals and Cloud9 definitely showing up bigs, but some big names that you don't usually get the opportunity to hear definitely showing up as well.
Yeah, and it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be great. And it was a great, great tournament today. And it was great to cast with you, Zephyr. It was a ton of fun. Yeah. But with that being said, because Open Qualifier 2 has now pretty much reached its conclusion, but besides the third place matchup, talking about the schedule here for Rift Masters, there is going to be a 2-week break as we do get to see Tribe in Horizon Cup. So best of luck to Tribe Gaming in Horizon Cup. The next couple of weeks we'll be back again, I believe, on the 29th for Open Qualifier 3, and then after that the last chance qualifier. So there's still some time for these teams to make some money, to make some points, but we do take a little bit of a break to root on Tribe in the international scene.
Well, I mean, I would hope you guys are rooting on Tribe. We come from North America, but if you have plenty of other teams that you're looking for to win over there,
NA.
We're catering to all audiences here, Bruce, okay?
Hopium.
I have plenty of hopium for Tribe, man. Those guys absolutely crush it, and I'm pretty sure we might be seeing them here after the Horizon Cup. No promises, but I mean, I hope so. I'd love to see Tribe make their own impact here. For now, though, we want to thank all of you guys for coming out and supporting Rift Masters. Once again, feel free to follow us, jump on that Twitter, give us the love and support that hopefully we deserve. Either way, thank you all for coming out. We hope you stay safe and have a good night.